Hey everybody, welcome to the Open Play Podcast. Today is a special day because we're talking about the new data slate that just dropped last Thursday. Today I'm here with my co-host Will.
Hey.
Michael.
Hello.
Our special host Alex.
How's it going?
And our special guest host Charles. Well, back again from our TOing episode.
Hey.
So, overall, just, the first thing I want to say about this data slate is War Community referred to as the first data slate of the new edition, which is weird because at the very top it says version 1.3. I don't know if anyone else noticed that.
Definitely noticed that.
But we'll get into it real quick. Let's do our brief little overview. You guys doing anything hobby-wise interesting over there, Michael?
Not so much. I did go grab the Tyranid Codex this weekend because I think I'm going to play some TTS games with them. I'm not going to buy any kits. I still have the Love Island box to build, so we're good there. But I'm interested in the Swarm detachment. I really like the idea of endless amounts of bugs. So I'm looking forward to trying that out.
An avalanche of chitin on your opponent.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's giving me flashbacks of fighting Alex's lists.
Yeah, I need to actually ask Alex for tips.
I only have like 180 guns. 80 Gene Stealers.
Only. All right, well, what are you working on these days?
I got to meet a knob and a smash a squig because we'll get into it a little bit later, but I feel like the Beast guys are still real good. And I want to eventually try an 18 squig hog with 3 beast knob on Smash a Squig list and see how that goes. So he's next up, and then I've conscripted. We'll call it that word. Some aid from you, right?
Yeah, I posted a squig hog bounding over a rock, not a tactical rock, but a leaping rock in our chat that I'm working on, and you committed to giving me some bits to put on the base of some dead things, or things that are going to get crumped in the near future at least.
Yes.
But you're also selling yourself a little bit short because you also painted some pretty nicely painted pink horrors. Well, they weren't really pink horrors. They were kind of like purple burgundy horrors, but they still look very nice.
Look, I'm not a huge fan of like bright pink at all, so I did get them done up. They are waiting on my shelf to be sealed. Very pleased with them. So it's funny, Cheryl's almost done with Scarbrand, and holy crap, I can't wait to post pictures of him.
He can crump for sure.
Dude, flat 6 damage, woo!
It's not bad. All right, Alex, what are you working on these days?
I am waiting for 3 horror spexes to show up in the mail here soon. And then I will be painting and magnetizing those with the exocrine heads, because I am banking on the assimilation swarm being a lot of fun to play.
I mean, hey, we'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, I think that all the detachments actually look pretty fun to play. Obviously, some are good, some are bad. I don't want to say bad, but some are better than others.
There's some misses. I think that's a fair statement, especially with the data slate, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But
less than optimal.
Some of them look a lot of fun. I think that a full army of just very hungry bugs that heal on objectives is going to be really fun to play. So,
I think it would be not fun to play against. So that means
and at 375 points for 3 Haru Spexes, I would love to see what that does on the table, because it's going to be a little silly.
You're a bad person.
Yeah, I hear that number and I just feel like I don't like it. I don't like hearing those numbers thrown at me. Have you played on TTS or a local? I don't know if you have a local scene, but have you played a TTS game with it yet?
Not yet. I'm trying to schedule time with Will, but I have been working a lot of overtime lately, which is completely impeding my time to actually go out and do stuff.
Yeah, you work hard enough to afford the plastic, but then you
and then you don't have time to play with
it. Yep, I know that game. So Will and I can talk about, because we played a game yesterday with the new slate. But Charles, have you played a game with the new data slate yet?
We recently had our small teams RTT event, and we did use the new data slate. So we had quite a bit of matches using that to talk about. But personally, I played 3 rounds, Eldar twice, and I can't remember what my first round opponent was. But I played new Eldar twice. It was alright.
You were the Eldar taker for your team?
I was, yeah.
I'm sorry. Hopefully
They
you
threw me
had
under
as
the
much
bus.
fun as possible. I mean, it's not a lot of fun if you're playing against Eldar, but
Oh, it was a new Votan. I played Votan round 1, and I lost. They got me.
that's a little
So-
surprising. But we could talk about Votan later. But I because you were playing Drukhari, right?
No, I was playing Knights.
Oh, you were playing Knights. Okay, that makes a little
Yeah.
more sense then.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, how did Drukhari lose to Votan? You could just outrange them and kill them from a distance the whole time. So Will and I played a game yesterday. I played Dark Angels into his Orks. There was definitely a little bit of variance as far as secondaries drawn on Will's side, so we ended up calling it relatively early on. I brought a fun list. He brought a list that he told me was going to be fun.
Whatever.
But dude, I keep telling you, your list was very good. It was a lot of stuff. Orcs don't seem to really be killing people right now, but they could just take points out from under you like nobody's business.
That was it, and that was the whole thing. So for anyone wondering, it was a green tide. It was tons and tons of boys. They don't kill anything. They just die and take points, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But if you're looking to have fun and crump your opponent, boys still ain't it.
You threw what, like 40 boys and 10 knobs into 10 Deathwing Knights and the Lion. You killed the Lion strictly through devastating wounds, and we'll explain how that happened once we get into the day slate too. And you killed, I think, 3 Deathwing Knights.
It's just Deathwing Knights are stupid, and I hate them. And so it was 40 boys into the Deathwing Knights, 2 war bosses, 2 mega knobs, a big mech and mega armor, and 2 pain boys. And I think before you had them mopped up, I had killed 5 or 6 of them.
When we called it, I was exactly half of the knights and the captain on the field. So
Yeah.
you killed 5 the whole time.
The Lion went down to the knobs. The knobs just whooped him good.
Mm-hmm. But that's to be expected. He is not worth his points, unfortunately. But he is a very nice looking model, and I am hoping that GW realizes it in 3 months. They cut him down to 300 points. He might be worth it then.
No.
Yes. Stop it. Get some help. All right, but let's get into this data slate because that's what everyone's here to hear about. This is I could not. I was like a kid on Christmas, like the week before this dropped. I was so excited to see it because I gotta say there was not a lot of fun in the game if you weren't playing one of the top armies. I played a couple games with Votan. I know some people who were playing AdMech. Every time I saw someone with Death Guard on the table, I just kind of like, oh man, I'm sorry. And I feel as though the average amount of fun in the game has gone up with this data slate.
100%.
Yes. With the exception of a couple, all the bad armies, like no one went from 0 to hero. Well, wait, that's not true. Most armies didn't go from 0 to hero, but all army, like Votan and Death Guard, can definitely play the game now, which is like the best part. But do you guys, Michael, you want to start off, talk about the devastating wound change?
Sure. So with the dev wound change that happened, making, those specific Eldari rolls not spill over and wipe out a whole unit, that's a really good change for it just changing to be, no save can be made against the attack. So it's not a mortal wound, but it still wounds. My concern with the dev wound change, though, isn't devastating wounds like 80 to 90% of mortals in the game? So doesn't it reduce, like I think the Norn Emissary has a feel no pain against mortals, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me double check.
But that kind of save, it just kind of lessens the value for that. So it makes it kind of a useless stat because there's not much in the game that just deals flat mortals now. Not that I'm mad that it's gone, but,
Well, and there's a lot of units out there that had a feel no pain against mortals. I mean, the
Entire
Most of the Custodes armies.
The entire Custodes factions are crying right now. Give me back my feel no pain.
Yes. Well, and the Space Marine Chaplain just got dunked on completely because that was his whole thing. It's like, well, I could already give most of my I could already give my Terminators +1 to wound, but it gives them a feel of pain against mortals. That's pretty good. Now they don't get that anymore against the most likely source of taking it, so you just will never take a Chaplain right now.
Yeah, and that said, I think the change was a good change to make, because it was a pain against some specific armies we won't mention, that just wiped units out at a time. So, I mean, it was a good change to make. It was a needed change that was made. I just don't know why it took 2 months to make that change when they could have seen this like 2 weeks into the data. So,
they could have seen it 6 months pre-release. They had the feedback from the big content creators, Art of War and Tabletop Titans and Tactics. They knew full well, and they were just like, oh, well, we're gonna see how this goes, and they just shoot from the hip.
It seems a little like a ham-fisted solution, I gotta say. It's not what I would have done. I think that the best case scenario is take devastating wounds off the problematic weapons instead of just putting because now there's this weird dichotomy of toughness where Horde's got a lot tougher because of this change, right? Because most Horde armies were gonna die to wound if it's devastating or not anyway. But now, you mentioned the Nord Assimilator, Terminators, the Lionel Johnson died of devastating wounds. He used to have a 4-up save against them. Now he has nothing against them.
Goodbye, loser lion.
He is so much not as tough. All these models are so much less tough than they were before, and I feel as though that's not the intent. So are we gonna see the Space Marine Codex is right behind the corner? Are we gonna see I mean, it's not gonna have it now because I guarantee you that this data slate wasn't written when the Codex was written. But are we gonna see there be a day one patch where it says this unit has a feel no pain against mortal wounds and devastating wounds, and that's gonna be the new power creep? What's gonna go on there?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that codex has been written for a month at this point, so I mean, it's already out of date, just like every codex they release.
Yep.
Cries and talking about Tyranid points in the codex last episode, literally a week ago, and that all of that was irrelevant and never hit gameplay.
Yeah, you never got to use those sweet point
once.
adjustments.
All those things I was excited about, and I'm like, I never even had a chance. And yeah, you are right. The Northern Emissary does have an innate 5-up against mortals. For Feel No Pain, they can also gain a regular 5-up with their other abilities.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. So thinking of design on units, let's assume there's a certain base power cost that they can't go over, and each thing they add is a bit of that power creep, right? So the Feel No Pain against dev wounds now is just a flat 0 for a lot of the stuff. So are they going to change dev wounds like you were talking about, Mason, down the road to change it up a little bit? Or are they just going to change, everybody's Feel No Pain against dev wounds to something that's actually worthwhile?
So I'm not sure if this is a hot take or a lukewarm take, but this is my take, is that devastating wounds, a Feel No Pain against them, and a way to shoot someone that has lone operative from more than 12 away, those are going to be the two major power creeps of the next probably 8 year to 18 months. Some codex is going to get that, and it's going to shake up the meta to its core.
Space Marines.
To hell with lone operative.
I honestly think Space Marines will have something to shoot things with lone operative. I fully believe that. If not, what AdMech will.
Yeah. AdMech needs something.
Well, they're getting a new codex next, I think.
Yeah, after Marines are getting one, but it's early 24, I think. I don't think it's this year.
I still don't know that that's going to fix them. A lot of their problems are their data sheets are just bad.
Well, also the detachment they have is honestly bad. I mean,
their detachment is bad too, but you look at their data sheets and you're like, this does not match this.
I'm not even sure what detachment you guys are talking about because they just don't have a rule. They just you take AdMech units and you have a rule that says maybe you'll do a couple mortal wounds to somebody. I don't know. We'll see about it.
Probably not. No.
Probably not.
Their detachment rule is the only one I can think of that can actively help your opponent.
Yeah.
That detachment rule against what is the Sisters Order where they get extra hit and wound, or the new Tyranid Crusher Stampede. I'm going to plink a wound off my guys on purpose, and I'm going to start the game with +1 to hit.
I would like to actively damage my army and get buffs, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Knights.
Would do it themselves.
Shoulder the burden with Knights. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a terrible rule, and GW should feel bad.
Yeah.
They don't.
They're wiping their tears with $100 bills. God, I feel so awful.
All right. So how do you all feel about the stratagem change for the battle tactics stratagems and the once per phase or more than once per phase rule?
Beautiful. I'm going to throw my hot take. I hate this change.
Really?
Yeah, I hate that. Like, you're only allowed because the reason why is because there are some armies that could abuse a lot of free like stratagem stuff, and now there are some armies who are just not able to use a lot of their coolest strong stratagems. Like, I was looking at some of the Tyranid detachments. Some of the Tyranid detachments have one battle tactic stratagem, and I'm like, it's not even that good. I really want to play the Assimilation Swarm. But the only assimilation swarm battle tactic is that I can let one unit regen after they kill a unit, and that's it. That's the only thing I can use my Hive Tyrant for. So why would I ever take a Hive Tyrant in that list now?
That's fair. I mean,
I feel like the units so even a step further from that, I feel like a lot of the units that could use the free stratagems were pointed in a way that you were still paying for those stratagems, just not in CP, but in big points costs. And now the units that is baked into their costs are useless if you don't have a really good thing to use that ability on.
Yeah.
I can agree with that to some extent. I'll be quiet in a minute. I think the reason. Shut up. I think that the reason that they did that was probably half the armies in the game could abuse it, right? Necrons, Space Marines, Eldar,
Guard,
Thousand Suns. So many armies could abuse it that they had to make a big change like that, and then armies like mine and yours, right? Tyranids and Orks. I don't get free stratagems ever, and your free stratagems are trash, so, like, just not going to use them.
And they're locked behind a now, 240-point unit, too, because the Hive Tyrants, their ability is worse, and they got a points increase on top of it.
Will, I gotta tell you, I think you're flat wrong, at least when it refers to Orks. 4 of your 6 stratagems are battle tactics.
No. You miss. I don't have that ability to make them free.
Right. So this is an inherent nerf for you because these can all still be vected. These are all your best strats. Unbridled Carnage.
Yeah, I can
Artist
still Swarm Lord you.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's the other side is the people who have access to increase it. Now that if you're an army that doesn't have access to them, but your good ones are still battle tactics, now you're still just getting shafted if somebody does show up and vect you.
Yeah, and
that's fair.
Going to bring up Guard here. I was looking at their stratagems, and they have one battle tactic strat, and a lot of their current detachment rules and certain officer rules they have give free strats, but I can only use this one now amongst all of the strats they have.
It definitely a weird change. I'm with you guys. Like I like it, but at the same time. Yeah, it seems like the Devastating Wound change. It seems ham-fisted.
It's a weird change. I mean, I think that if they don't want to raise the cost of stratagems or rewrite data sheets, actually, it's probably not wanting to rewrite data sheets, right? They don't want to say oh, you can't use a 2 CP stratagem for 1 CP. They don't want to change the rule. They want the consistent wording. So now it's you can only use on these stratagems that are only going to cost 1 CP.
Yeah, that I think you're right, probably.
But it'll definitely shake up the meta in a lot of ways. Some armies that were throwing a Vect in, I think specifically CSM, were putting Cypher in. I don't think that they will anymore because a Vect is just not as inherently powerful. But then again, of course, it depends on what codex come out and what strats people are slinging out there. This next one we can just the next 2 we can definitely handle together. The 2 core stratagem changes: Insane Bravery and Fire Overwatch. Insane Bravery, you now do it before you roll the test, not after. And Fire Overwatch, you can no longer do it. You have to have line of sight to the unit. This is just how it should have been from the jump.
100%.
This is Insane Bravery happening after you roll it.
Stupid.
Why make Battle Shock even less likely? You can only use it once per battle. You probably only will. I don't think that Battle Shock is going to matter twice in a battle so much that you want to spend a CP on it. I think it's more of if it happens, it's disappointing. But it is conceivably a nerf, but I don't think people are really using the stratagem that many times per battle consistently. The only thing about Overwatch, the Overwatch change that is a huge deal, is you cannot target a Titanic unit with a stratagem.
So good. I won't say it's so good. I think it should cost Titanic 2 CP to make it steep, but the fact that Knights can't Overwatch at all is pretty brutal.
Yeah, I think it should just be a 2 CP for Knights to fire
for Titanic, right? Just change it to where it's for Titanic units is 2 CP, because like it's just straight up mean to Knights, right? Knights got 1, 2, 3 punched in this, right? Via all the changes that came about. And then the Overwatch was kind of like GW taking the glove off and slapping Knights in the face one final time and saying, like, all right, good luck, idiots.
You said 1, 2, 3. I think you might need to keep counting a little bit, but Charles could talk to that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, Charles can speak that when we get the Knights.
For this particular change of the Overwatch, it definitely feels like every Titanic unit is paying for the sins of the Wraith Knight, because who cares about Overwatch when you just auto a 6? Like,
yeah.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Matter.
Is you guys are Eldar is running, so you guys don't have to all crawl.
I wish that they just pointed the Wraith Knight accordingly. Just make it an 800-point unit, dude. People would still take it. It was still that good.
Yes, they gave a little point slap on the wrist.
It's 400 plus points now. Please don't take 3 of me, ooh woo.
I do think that they no longer, you don't take a Red Knight anymore. That's something. They successfully removed it from the table. That's cool.
Yeah.
For serious lists, I think they're out.
Yeah.
I think you still bring it to like an RTT or, mid-table GT, but I don't think it's going to be any top list anymore.
Yes, I think so too.
Agreed.
All right, Will, hit us with this last change.
Which one?
The towering change.
Towering change, having to toe in. That's how it should have been the whole time. There's no hot takes here. There's no, the fact, they can hide behind runes now, right? That was one of the changes?
Yeah, they can hide. And
that's how it should have been the whole time. We're talking, so people like to put scale in 40k, which scale GW is notoriously bad about. But when you talk scale in 40k, a 5-story knight is not that tall. Sorry, I'm sorry, like all the knight stands are out here like, oh, how dare you? 5 stories tall is not that big in 40k, okay? It's just not. And so having a building, and most of you, and it's impractical for most TOs to have, and Charles can speak to this too, it's impractical for most TOs to have 5-story buildings on hand. So just saying, yes, they're behind runes, you can't see them until they toe in, and then they can't see you till they toe in, that just makes sense. It's just such a common sense rule, and I have no idea why it wasn't just put in the game from the beginning, and it kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, it is a very curious rule, the way they wrote towering. And I will say this change is definitely not like a sexy change. It's definitely not like, oh, this is such a cool idea. But it's the rule that has to work for the game to not come off its wheels. And like the other alternative was you pricing knights into oblivion, right? That was the alternative. And this is a better solution than that, because now you can actually put knights on the table, which is how you play the game. So it just didn't make any sense. Or the original towering rule, everyone was so mad about it because it didn't make any sense. It broke immersion, because it's just like not every TO doesn't have 30 sets of 5-story runes. I'm sorry, like most TOs, they need to be stored somewhere because we live in reality. And the reality is they're stored beneath tables or in totes most of the time, so they can't be that friggin' tall. Yeah, I mean, Charles, I think that you're using the same tournament pack, right, as Gem East, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So we were playing on what basically was GW terrain. Like our terrain was not tall enough. I had a repulsor executioner in a game I played against knights, and there's literally no way I could hide it at all. I was like, it's the very top of its turret is going to be visible across the board from my opponent on their big knights, and there's not anything I can do about it. So I'll put it as far away from the big knight, make him have to move it out to shoot it, and maybe he'll miss. He did not miss. He killed it turn 1. I did not get to shoot it a single time. So
for larger models like that, the old towering was insanely difficult to play against. Infantry in that style of ruins, not too bad, because you can like nuzzle them up in there, but in any tank was just dead turn 1 against knights. I actually really like this change, just because knights can hide, which I think is fine. My issue was, and always has been, if if you can shoot me, I should be able to shoot you. Situations where that is not true is bad design. This solves that. If you can't shoot me, I can't shoot you. But when I step in to shoot you, you can return fire. I feel like this is an okay change.
And I feel as though navigating those shooting angles where you only reveal yourself to what you actually have to is a part of the player skill of the game. So you can't just face roll your way through. I can see everything in the world, and that's fine. But all right. It looks like Michael's waving us to jump to the factions. You guys want to jump on into the major meat? Overall, I do want to say I think that these changes are all good.
Yes.
Some of them are very obviously great changes, like the Fire Overwatch and Insane Bravery changes are like, this is how the game should be. Other ones are like, they're fixing problems. They're not inherently good or bad. Like it's probably an improvement overall, but it's not like, I'm not like going to throw confetti over all these changes. I think that's cool.
Necessary versus great changes.
Definitely. But all right, for those of you who are curious, we're going to go down the top of the most recent Metal Watch win rate sheet they put out and talk about the changes from there, which means that the first on the docket is Eldar.
So let's let Charles go first since he fought 2 knife ears this weekend.
Yeah, he deserves to vent a little bit here.
Yeah, so our team played Eldar all 3 rounds. I went into 2 of those matches. We had I don't want to say skewless, but pretty skewed, right? I had knights, and our other buddy Phil had demons, monster mash. So the Eldar that we went into, he went into one, and then I went into one, was basically Bright Lance spam. War Walkers, no Wraith Knights, right? But War Walkers, Fire Prisms, just Hornets, right? So Bright Lance spam really, still alive and well. Those were bad. But the other list I went into was a more, I would say, rounded list, right? Couple War Walkers, couple Hornets, but had the block of Wraithguard. And that, so I did end up winning that game, mostly because my opponent's dice betrayed him. I think he hit 1 Bright Lance shot that whole game.
No.
Yeah, it was rough. And he made it the tactical error where he had a solitaire in his Altark. He was a little too confident in his lone operative, and they were just kind of out in the open. And then I just advanced up and thermal speared him to the face, and killed both of them, which one was his warlord. And really, the knights kind of went off after that. But they didn't feel too bad to play against, honestly. I think they got hit substantially. I still think they are A tier. I still think Phantasm is a bit bullshit. I don't.
Yeah, so the Phantasm change going to infantry only, it takes it from the best stratagem in the game, hands down, to this is probably the best stratagem in the game. Like, it's a huge nerf to Phantasm, but Phantasm was so good that it's like, it still is a phenomenal strategy. Like, I would love to have that strat in any army I have.
Yeah, it's still really good. And just so everybody's on the same page, that's the only change they got, faction-wise.
That's it.
Like, that's it. Like, come on, man. I know the base changes hit them pretty hard, right? All the other baseline changes hit them, but as far as faction changes go, that's it. And I think they may need another pass eventually, but I do think they feel a lot better to play against. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that Eldar are still probably in the top 3. They still very well might be the top based on the nerfs that the other top armies got. I can think of maybe 2 armies that might give them a run for their money, but they're still the best army, because when you are this much better than the rest of the field, even all these like nerfs, and like some of these are just soft nerfs, like, Devastating Wounds was a soft Eldar nerf, it just affected everybody. You're going to be on top because you're so much better than everyone from the jump. This is a 10% win rate cut at most.
Definitely still S tier.
I was going to say, I think Eldar are probably still the best army in the game. The Necrons, the ability to play the mission, might give them trouble at this point.
But all right, let's move on to GSC. Michael, are you available for this?
Yeah, so the change to GSC here. I agree with the Cold Ambush rule change, where you actually don't just auto get your battle line back, automatically. You have a 50% chance during turns 1 and 2, because you get to add 2 to your roll, basically. But after that, you have to have a 5+ to bring a unit back. So I think that was a good change, but the freaking stratagem change is also just going to hurt the army so much tied with that, because those were the 2 strong things. That's why people ran multiple Nexos or Clamopus's just for the free CP stuff they could do, and they only have Coordinated Trap and Perfect Ambush now as battle strats. All the other strats are not battle strats, so you can't really affect those. I think the win rate's going to tank to a point. I think it's probably going to be closer to 50% now, because people were already learning how to play against them with the rule as was with the blips, and they were already starting to drop. But yeah, I think it's going to tank a good 10% probably.
I could see 10. I don't know if I could see the full 13 to go to 50. The army still shoots so hard.
Yeah, they do. Like, I'll just very quickly. They shoot so hard. Like, oh no, like you killed 200 points of cultists. Well, they blew up 400 points of your army when they appeared out of nowhere. So,
Yeah, I think that the time we'll see, the meta's still kind of shrouded right now, so it's hard to see like what you can tech against or not. If you can properly tech against them, I think that they will be hovering around that, 47 to 53. But if you're banking against more elite infantry, I think they're just going to take you for a run for your money every time.
Well, with the new points changes, the current meta list is increased by about 250. So you're going to lose a good 20 to 40 bodies with that amount. So, I mean, there'll still be a horde army, but yeah, it's going to be less. There's definitely going to be less models on the board.
The fact that 200 points is 20 bodies is like...
20 to 30, but yeah.
Because I'm getting upset. I'm getting sad. That's so many points. No, I think GSC is still a good army, though. I don't think that it's definitely not Doomsday it's definitely not the Day of Ascension for them, right?
They're gonna hover right around 50 to 55%. Them boys, them big-headed boys will be fine.
They'll probably be in a good spot, I think. Maybe they'll be one of the more powerful fair armies. I think they'll still be top 5, to be honest. But
I still want to play him, so I still think.
I think it's a cool army, regardless. I just it's not. I don't think it's going to be as oppressive to play against, which will be good for people who aren't playing them.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see a different meta come out than what's been the meta for this army. Different units, because everybody's just running bodies and then like 2 of the vehicles, and that's literally it. I mean, there's so much more you can actually run. So we'll see.
All right, so. Charles, you kind of touched on it a little bit. Your Imperial Knights.
Yeah, so Imperial Knights got nerfed. Just flat out nerfed.
Yeah, a lot of punches to the face.
No words about it. I agree.
And not even points nerfs. Just the rules changes. Just hit them, right?
Yeah, we did get a few. The Armigers caught a couple points nerfs. They're all 150 now. So Hellbrenns went up 5 points. Warglaves went up 10. Not too bad, honestly. But the big thing here is, besides the main baseline changes, is the bondsman ability. The removal of the bondsman from the Questoris chassis, the Big Knight chassis.
Mm-hmm.
Sucks.
Yeah,
it hurts real bad.
That's big.
I think you could justify it just thematically wise. Like, you're supposed to make your little guys better, not necessarily yourself. Okay. If it were just that, I'd probably, be fine with that. But I feel like there may be something I am missing in the fact they made Thunderstomp epic deed instead of battle, which prevents Canis Rex from using it. But I didn't realize he was like terrorizing with Thunderstomp, especially after the Dev Wounds change.
Isn't his just normal attack better?
Thunderstomp just says 1 CP, 1 CP. Your melee weapon now has the Dev Wounds ability.
Oh, I thought for some reason you had to use. I thought you had to use an actual like armored foot attack for that. Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense, especially with the nerf with devastating wounds. Like you're killing anything you touch anyway.
Yeah, I think with the Dev Wound nerf, it was probably a little bit weird to change that. I mean, Canis Rex is probably using it for free all the time previously, but now I think it just seemed a little heavy-handed. Trophy claim to 2 CP. It's a once per game thing. You would think maybe we could get away with that. And then, not trophy claim, last stand to 2 CP is once per game. It's really good, right? It's really good, but once per game, maybe it shouldn't be 2 CP. Trophy claim going to 2, I understand that. Because if you
last stand once per game?
Yes. Yep.
You can only fight on death once per game in Knights?
Oh, sorry. I was mistaken. The last stand with Shoulder the Burden. Apologies. Yes, so last stand going to 2 CP, just not needed. Fight on death. I mean, how often are you really going to pop that, right? It just seems unnecessary.
I will say that everyone else's auto fight on death is 2 CP, so it is in line with that. However, most people, they have 5 to 15 units, whereas Knights have, 3 to 10 units. So it's a little different, right?
Right, like you kill my guy, I spend 2 CP, I'm going to punch you. If you kill a Warglaive, I'm going to punch you 4 times. Like, the cost doesn't seem correct. Trophy claim going to 2, I think is fair, because it refunds 1. It refunds a point if you kill the thing you're shooting. So
yeah, because it is the once per game, unless you're honored, they should just take away the refund, probably, right? Like instead of just making it 2 CP, just make it 1 CP, and it doesn't refund a CP.
That's what I would do. It also makes it a little, just a little more streamlined rules wise. But overall, I think Knights still feel fine. I think without Bondsman, some of the more shooting builds are a little worse off. Knights can hide now. I think melee Knights are going to be a little spicy. There was a melee Knight list at the RTT that went 3-0. They had some soft matchups, mostly Marines or mech equivalent, but they went 3-0 with Canis Rex in the what's the new plastic big guy? The
Lancer.
Cerastus. Yeah. Lancer, yeah. And he was just like staying behind the footprint of stuff and then popping out, and there's nothing his opponents could do about it.
That's a big fast boy.
But overall, I think it'll bring him down. I just wish they didn't do it with Bondsman.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to be like they're going to be high 40s at the minimum, because they're still a very good army. But I don't think that they definitely got hit pretty hard.
What's annoying about this, if I could just rant for a second.
Go off, King.
The GW win rates, right? They're at 57% on the win rate, something like that.
Yep.
Which is too much, but it doesn't tell the whole story, right? It doesn't calculate T-Whip and those other statistics. That 57% is mostly populated from like 3-2s. That's like Knights are like the mid-table. They're mid-table. It's a mid-table army on decent terrain anyway, and this just makes it feel a little bad for anyone trying to get super competitive into Knights, in my opinion. Right? Knights weren't going, very rarely were they 5-0 and stuff, especially with Eldar existing, right?
Yeah.
So that 57% is populated by 3-2 finishes, which makes these nerfs a little harder to digest.
Admittedly, Eldar warped the whole meta, though. So once Eldar, this is the first round of punches I'm hoping from GW. Once they are brought down to size, I think everyone else is naturally going to rise by 1 to 3%, right? As things do when the top tier guys get punched in the face, and the Custodians got punched in the face pretty hard too. So we'll see. I still think Knights are going to be pretty healthy, Charles.
Yeah, in the March data slate of next year, because they'll nerf Eldar again in January. In the March data slate of next year, Knights will go back up a little bit.
And then they'll nerf Chaos Knights just because.
Yeah.
Well,
Then they'll nerf Chaos Knights and not touch Loyalist Knights.
Yep. As it is written, so it shall be.
Yeah, I think Knights will settle down around a 49-50% rate, which is where they should be. It just feels bad, that's all.
For an only skew army, I'm just giving you crap, Charles.
We got little Knights.
Dude, that's still a skew list.
All right, guys, let's not get into it. Let's move on to Custodes. Custodes, capping the squad sizes, I think from a narrative point of view, I think it makes sense, right?
Yes.
Having 10, when there's only 10,000 Custodes in the world, or the universe, the galaxy, whatever, having 10 of them just walk at you and then 20 more just following behind seems a little weird. Seems like it's a lot of focus. Some of the squad sizes are a little weird. Like I think Wardens, you could take 4 or 5. I don't know why that's not 3 or 6 like everyone else, but I'm not GW. I don't know a lot of the Custodes lore about what the difference in these units are. So bikes and land riders went down in points, so that's good for Custodes, right? I still don't think you take bikes, but
No,
I could see people. I can see people taking a land raider.
Yeah, I can see a land raider. The bike still won't look. And God, the Custodians players will crucify me if they ever find me in real life. I never want to see a bike meta again. Never. I never want to see 18 bikes on the table again because it gives me PTSD to the first ever GT I attended, which was Gems, and I almost cried.
It's not fun. Although
No.
I do think they die pretty easily now for being 80 points a model. I will say that.
Yes, as it is now, bikes are whatever. Like back in ninth, man, they were
They were rough last edition. But most infantry went up 5 points a model. Characters are between 15 and 20. Trajan went out to 160, which is totally justified. I would absolutely windmill dunk Trajan into most lists if I was playing Custodes because he still is great. One of the biggest hits is there's the change of devastating wounds and the fact that you can't make the fights first free. There's a lot of panic about Custodes online. I'll use the word panic. We'll use a few less nice words to describe the Custodes players, but I'll say there's a lot of panic. But I think they're about a 50% win rate still, and I think they're gonna just gatekeep melee focused armies.
They'll be fine.
They will be absolutely fine. The sky is not falling for them. For our next entry, the sky is. But sorry, what are you gonna say about Custodes?
It's just like, dude, I have very little sympathy for Custodes players. Like, they are consistently, from when I started playing in 8th, they are consistently hovering from 49 to 54% win rate. And the second a negative change affects Custodes players, there's just screaming and rage and anger. And I'm like, you guys are okay. You know that, right? Like, your data sheets prop up your faction.
They were lower than that. Armor of Contempt Nephilim, right? So
were they?
I think so. Strictly because they couldn't get Armor of Contempt, and everyone else was. So everyone was taking higher AP weapons and putting them on their invuln, so their 2-up armor save didn't matter. Yeah,
but then that was the era of bike spam.
No, that was before that.
Was that before?
Because I think we don't need to get into previous formats, but I think that Custodes were pretty low down, and then as soon as Armor of Contempt went away and people started dropping as much AP from their list, Custodes win rate shot up. They also got buffed, but whatever.
All right, Mason, tell us about Thousand Suns, your most hated enemy.
I have no idea why. I don't like Thousand Suns. I like the idea of them on the tabletop, yeah, you guys should have a bad time. I have no idea why. It's got to have something to do with some sort of childhood trauma for me. I can't tell you.
Is it because they cast gun?
They cast gun, and they're gonna point their broody tooty point and shooty at me and say, "Yeehaw, cowboy, you're dead." This was a gut job. Thousand Suns got hit hard, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not seeing something right. But they're higher points on everything weapon points. Let me take a look and see at the.
They got screwed. I mean, for no reason.
It's so much red on here. Oh, the Forge Fiend didn't go up in price on there. Their Forge Fiend is only 135 points. Good deal there, boys. But you're not going to have nearly as many Cabal points. Like, most lists, I think, we're taking 14 Cabal points minimum. I think now you're going to try to get, you're going to struggle to hit 14. What are they called? Mutilith Vortex Beasts, maybe you take one. You might not even take any because it's just so expensive and they don't give you that much anymore.
I mean, did someone just, misread the tile and think this was Eldari and decide to just nerf everything? Because for a 53% one-weight army, this is just a little much, especially with the Shadow change.
Yes. They no longer can blank saves for free. They no longer can make all their shots free and stuff like that. They're not as susceptible of Vect, I guess, but you can still Vect the reroll all to hit and wound stratagem for psychic weapons. And the devastating wound change for them theoretically should be a benefit, because I think most of their devastating wound stuff is one, maybe a couple, 2 damage hits. But feel no pain against psychic attacks is the easiest feel no pain to get. So it's across the board, they got hit kind of hard and they didn't get really anything back. And I think that their win rate's going to go down quite a bit. I think that they are definitely slipping sub 50, maybe sub 45. Really depends. Probably sub 45, because I think a lot of the really good Thousand Suns players are probably going to pivot to a different army, because I don't think you're going to be winning a GT with them. So I don't think people are going to take them seriously anymore. I will say, despite the fact I hate them on the tabletop, aesthetically I think they're great, so it's a shame for there. But 1,000 Suns, I think, are really in going to go down.
Yeah, they're going to drop sub 50 easy, and it's going to cause people to stop playing them, which is going to drop them one way or more. So it's a vicious cycle.
Yes, it is. It's a feedback loop for the ages. This had to have, yeah, like you said, this had to absolutely have been the nerfs. This is the nerfs that we needed Eldar to see. This is the level. And why 1,000 Suns caught the ire of GW, I'm not sure. They definitely needed something, but I don't think they needed all this.
I mean, they're the only real psychic army left out there, so we don't have a psychic phase anymore, so maybe they just want to turn into regular Space Marines.
I disagree, because there is a good psychic army that got buffed pretty decently well that's is currently sitting at the bottom of the list. We'll get there eventually. But, Wilhelm, why don't you talk about demons?
Oh, man. Demons. I'm very excited still to play them. I talked about at the beginning of the episode, Charles painting Scarbrand. Shalaxi going to 450 points was just mean. It's just mean by Games Workshop. Because Shalaxi is one of the only units in the whole of the Demon Index that actually does the work. That's it. She's the only one. Bellacore he does damages, right? But he's primarily there for his you don't get to shoot me outside of 18 inches.
Yeah, you're paying for the aura. That's all that is.
You're paying for the aura, right? Bellacore, he's kind of he's a tough lad and he hits kind of hard, but for his points cost, you're paying for the auras, which is fine. I can agree with that. It's like paying for Gullyman. Okay, I'm in. But the little demons went down on costs. The Nurgle went down. Mono Nurgle across the board went down. Spoiler alert.
Fair.
Mono Nurgle still sucks butts. They're still awful. They move slow.
It's their job, so that's fair.
Exactly. They move slow. They don't hit hard. And they're supposed to be quote-unquote tough, but they're really not that tough. The Great Unclean One with the 4-up is still very good. The one thing I will say, there are 2 things that I will say that may see legs in upcoming Demons players, is the Celeste Demonette Bomb. They went down a lot, and Celeste is kind of a Giga Chad. They're going to hit pretty hard, they're very fast, or you could summon them in from the Shadow of Chaos with Bellacore. I legitimately think you're going to start seeing the Demonette Bomb, and then I think you're going to start seeing more Khorne. Scarbrand, while kind of expensive and kind of slow, if you keep him near his homie Bellacore, you can drop him if you move into the 18-inch aura of Be'lakor, but obviously that's the danger zone. So you got to kind of be careful, because then Be'lakor and all the other big boys will smash you. But Skarbrand is looking real juiced. It's flat 6 damage weapon, pretty pointed okay, and you stick some Blood Crushers near him. Blood Crushers ain't easy to bring down either. They're fairly fast, and with Skarbrand's aura, they're gonna hit real hard.
They're gonna crush some blood.
They're gonna crush some blood. So demons, I think demons made out okay. I think they're gonna stick around the 50% win rate, maybe 52% in the hands of really skilled players. The fact that the biggest take for me is the fact that Shalaxi went up to 450 is just mean. Like it was such a mean thing by GW, because Shalaxi was the only one truly pulling her weight in that codex besides Be'lakor. So, whatever. But that's what I got for notes on demons.
Well, I think you're a lunatic for what you just said.
Okay.
I think Shalaxi is worth 450. Maybe 435 to 440. Maybe a 50-point boost was a little much. I'll give you that. But at 400 points, she was committing war crimes out there, man. Like she moves like 14 inches and can advance and charge and just flays anything she touches. She's impossible to kill. Like the
definitely not impossible to kill. Hard to kill.
Hard to kill. Sure, that's fine. We don't need to be nuanced about it like that. She was good. She was phenomenal at 400 points. She's probably still good at 450. However, I do agree. Most of these other points, Be'lakor is probably fine where he is. I don't think a 25-point increase is gonna be the difference.
You're still gonna take him.
You're still
gonna take him. He's still the only thing holding the codex together.
I think at 325 he always made up his points. I think 350, maybe 40% of the time he doesn't. So he's still almost certainly worth it.
Yes.
I don't know why the Bloodthirster went up. The birds.
That one was dumb.
The birds needed to go up. 260 is definitely more fair for sure.
Birds needed to go up a little bit. They're just they're thick.
Yes, they are, and their birds are supposed to have hollow bones. So what's up with that?
Well, they've been eating a lot of umis.
I would have liked to see Kairos go up a couple points too.
I'm honestly glad Kairos' offensive output is not that strong though. Like he's already paying for his sins. He's already cost a fair amount, and all he really does is a Vect engine and an objective holder. He does some damage, but not that much.
I think Bloodletters could have went all the way to 120.
Dude, Bloodletters could go down to 100.
I was going to say 100 first, but I was like, maybe I'm wrong about their profile. But yeah, 140 is they're not going to see a lot of table time.
If they were at 100, you'd see a couple squads of them.
Yeah, I could definitely see at least one squad, right? Just to yeet at the opponent.
Sure. At 140, maybe. That's still you're almost never going to get value back.
My boys, the Nurglings, though, they went down in points. 35 points for 15 points of base.
Nurglings are good. The fact that they have OC0 kind of sucks, but they do have the OC of whatever they're in touch with. They can get you engaged. They can get you, area denial, whatever. They're okay.
They're 35 points for a unit that deep strikes. They're on 40s, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So 340 millimeter bases. Yeah, you can probably. It's relatively hard to screen out against that. So they're not the easiest thing to kill. I think they're 3 or 4 wounds of base. So yeah, you can drop them on that. But I think demons will be lower, and I think that's fine.
I do agree. They're okay. They'll be all right.
All right. So now we're kind of in the let's talk about Tyranids, because this is a big important change. So Alex, take it away.
But before Alex goes off, though, I think I can point out the best change about this so far is Spore Mines went up. So, that must make Rules super happy.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody in the history of a NIDS Codex ever paid for Spore Mines?
Yeah, I'm like, they went up in points that people weren't paying for to begin with.
Yeah, true. They just spawn them.
GW read people were complaining about Spore Mines. Like, gotta raise the price on Spore Mines.
We'll fix this. We know the perfect way to address this problem.
We know exactly how to make people not take Spore Mines.
Anyway, sorry.
Guys.
Go ahead, Alex. I apologize.
No, you're good. The Tyranid ones is like a really weird mixed bag. Like we didn't get any rules changes. There's nothing in the data slate that really like changes how the army plays, other than the change to the stratagems. Nothing else really messes with the army at all. We got like some point drops. We got some point increases. Some of the point increases are hardly justified, in my opinion. Some of them are fine. Like, I'm okay with Biovores being 75 points. They went up by 10. I'm okay with Barbgaunts being 60 points for 5. I still think a unit of them is worth, or even 2 units of them, honestly. However, all of the Hive Tyrants have gone up by at least 15 points, and I do not understand why. I think that is a huge miss after they've already been nerfed in their ability with their stratagem reduction anyways. And then Terrain Effects is going up 45 points is just kicking a horse when it's dead. I don't get that. I don't know why they did that. I don't think Terrain Effects are going to see a lot of play, especially because with the Codex, they also lost their Neg 1 damage ability. So they can reduce 1 instance of damage to 0, but against like small arms fire, they're now way more like susceptible to like damage 2 and damage 3 weapons. So no idea why Terrain Effects are going up by an entire 45 points.
And with the new devastating wounds change, neg 1 damage is a huge boon that they just lost.
For sure.
These point increases are absolutely insane. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so they're super weird for those. Like the Zoanthropes one I think is fine. The Hero Duel ones I think is also weird. I don't think anybody was taking Hero Duels competitively right now in a world of Carnifexes and Harvespexes. So I'm not sure why that happened. Harridans are down, so who knows, maybe the Harridans will tear up the meta for a few weeks again. That's always funny when they randomly show up in a skew list.
I don't even know what a Harridan looks like, so I'd have to look it up.
Gigantic dragon that's like about as big as a Biotitan. They're huge. They're like silly large. Like you put the thing on the table, it just doesn't look like it should be a part of the same game.
That's the flyer, right?
Yes. Yeah, the big Titanic flyer.
Yeah. There was one at the last gym GT. The guy was a Chad.
Yeah, I kind of want to get one, but I already have my big Biotitan. I'm like, I don't have room for 2 of these monstrosities because they're both big.
I have seen pictures of these things. I assumed it was like the alternative like sculpt of a harpy from like a while ago.
It's like
so
double
much
harpy.
bigger than a harpy.
I've only ever seen pictures. Please don't yell at me.
Oh no, you're good. It's just like
Just kidding.
it's so hard to tell how big it is until you've seen one in person because they're just absolutely massive in size. It's very silly how big they are. Some of the things are going to be weird. Broodlords are cheaper. Genestealers are cheaper. I think those might see some play, maybe. There's going to be a few matchups now where they're going to be, like, really scary. Because they have, like, Genestealers have devastating wounds when they have a Broodlord with them. But they only do damage 1, so it's not like they were, like, abusing devastating wounds like Eldar were. But now there's certain matchups against, like, Custodes and Chaplains and stuff where they're just going to be flying wounds through people who they didn't use to before.
Yeah,
so
there's definitely people for sure.
Yeah. So there's definitely some potential matchups where Genestealers might just be like a cool tech piece that just shreds some stuff for sure. Hiveguard went up by points, and I'm really tired of Hiveguard getting nerfed. They're already not seeing play.
They're paying for the sins of last edition.
And I just want my Shock Cannon Hiveguard to be good for once, because I have never seen Shock Cannon Hiveguard be helpful, and I really want them to just be cool for at least a few months. But nope, they're still going up because apparently the Rupture Cannons are too strong, I suppose.
Too strong.
Well, the good news is you can now take units of 1 Ripper Swarm. So
you can. I do think
so
that's going to be a
stupid.
tech where people are just going to take 3 units of one of those. Just for
Why would
scoring
you
points.
not? It's 45 points to deny half the board in Deep Strike wherever you want.
well, it's 60 points, but yeah.
It's 15 points in the Codex, is it not?
Well, it's 20 points now. That's
Wait. So the data
me
slate
double-check.
overrode the Codex?
Yeah, well, it
Yeah,
came out
they
after
just,
the
like,
Codex.
overrode everything. What do you mean?
No, what
That's what I was complaining about.
Okay, I was confused because I was like, wait, I thought in the Codex it were 15 points.
Yeah,
and
no,
I
the
thought
Codex
the Codex
rules don't matter anymore. So, like, all the Codex stuff I was really stoked about last episode doesn't matter anymore. The Codex had Biovores at, like, 45 points.
60 whole points to control huge swaths of the board and score all the points.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally just keep them in your back corners, and then, like, if you draw Investigate Signals, it's like, well, I get 2 for free, easy.
And then just keep one in Deep Strike for when you need engage or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely think that 3 Ripper Swarms are going to be in pretty much every list, just a single unit of them. I'm not sure if the Lictors are going to see play because of that change to Ripper Swarms, though.
Neurolictors will see play, though.
I don't think so.
Dude, there's 60 points a model.
65.
Yeah, what do they do, like, in comparison?
If you assassinate a single weird boy, you've made your points back,
But how
and you
am I
get a
ever going to
command
get him
point.
next to a weird boy?
You just make a charge on a Deep Strike.
Well, yeah, but how often, like, in our games, Will, as somebody who is aware of that as a thing, how often are you going to let me just randomly charge your weird boy out of Deep Strike?
But because they're leaders and they have precision, I don't have a choice. You charge the block of 10 or 20 boys, and you just say, I'm going to eat your weird boy's butt. And
Well, you have to be able to do that, though, right? You can if you bubble wrap your leader with boys, he can't engage your boy. He can't allocate attacks to it.
Very, very rarely are people going to bother doing that, and B, have enough models to bubble wrap a unit.
I don't know. I'm still just not super sold on him. 6 attacks at strength 6 at 1 damage. There's not a lot of situations where that's going to happen.
AP2?
AP2, yeah.
You will. He's not intended to kill war bosses. He's intended to kill the pain boy, or he's intended to kill the weird boy.
Yes. He's definitely intended to kill support characters, not like a
for
Terminator
sure.
captain. But
And even
I'm
then,
just still not sure. I don't know. He might see play. There's going to be
I think he'll see
situations
play.
where he'll do stuff. I just don't think he's anything super amazing.
I think putting 1 or 2 in a list, and because they have lone op, right?
Yes.
You stick them behind a ruin, and you stick them with the gaunts or the carnifexes where they can't be shot, and you spring them like an ambush. And when they charge in, they kill the character or whatever, and then like, who cares if the enemy counter-strikes into your carnifex or the streamer killer? What are they going to do? 4 damage? Whee!
I would much rather just take a single Death Leaper over an Neurolictor.
I could see that. Like, Death Leaper is definitely going to see
I could definitely
play.
see a Death Leaper. I'm
Yes.
still not sold on the Neurolictor. For 5 points, I'm getting an additional strength, and I'm doubling the damage.
So I was
I
going to
do
say
agree.
that I'm Switzerland on this, like where I'm kind of in the middle. I don't think that they're super good or super bad. I think that like you could take one and use one, but like I literally forgot that the Death Leaper was a separate entity.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Death
like,
Leaper's
oh yeah.
good.
I think that if you have the Death Leaper, you probably don't take a Neurolictor.
Yeah, I just don't see a situation where I would not pay 5 more points for an additional strength and an additional damage.
Yeah,
Like,
Death
the
Leaper
only other thing
will
that
see-
Neurolictor does is a
yeah.
battle shock test, but as we beat that dead horse on how helpful the battle shock test is. So
Yes.
it's just not really relevant.
Yeah, it really isn't. It's gotten a little more relevant. No,
I mean,
not really.
honestly, even a regular lictor, because I just looked at regular lictors, they're also strength 7 damage too. Neurolictors are trash. Give me a regular lictor every day over a neurolictor. It's 5 points cheaper. Neurolictors are terrible. After just double checking the lictor data sheet to be sure, 100% I would never take a neurolictor over
You
just
heard it
That's
here,
fair.
folks. Don't ever
I
take
didn't.
one.
I didn't realize lictors were damage
Yeah.
2. That makes a
damage
big
2,
difference.
strength 7, same amount
Yeah.
of attacks.
Not
They
mine.
just don't force, and
Just give-
lictors can rapid ingress for 0 CP.
Just give.
Oh, yeah,
just
that's
give
way
neurolictors
better.
damage 2.
Yeah, I would never take a neurolictor.
Wait,
I don't know why you
wait,
would.
no, they can't do that. Oh yeah, they can because if you call out the specific stratagem, you can do it.
Yep. So they have a specific ability to do it once per battle round. You can target them rapid ingress for 0 CP. So I don't know why I would ever take a lictor. I could see a neurolictor. I could see a lictor showing up occasionally for fun.
So where do you think this codex is going to sit on the percentage scale?
I think we're going to be pretty strong. I think that we're going to be mid-50s. Definitely.
I mean,
I
you're the
definitely
only codex, and everyone else is playing Index Hammer. So I think
I don't
that-
think our codex is giving us any like super crazy tech. I mean, I might be overlooking some of this. It's very possible.
Yeah, it is
with
the
6 new
first
detachments.
codex, though, right?
Yeah.
So like it's like they're not going to give all the crazy stuff yet, but
I definitely think that there is some potential for some stuff. Like, I really do think assimilation swarms are going to be very strong. If you can't, like, one-turn monsters, just having a bunch of monsters regenning is good. Vanguard, where I'm just going to... Every time you shoot me, I'm running at you. We definitely have some cool stuff. I don't see anything absurdly broken yet, so I definitely think we're going to be sitting, like, mid-50s at the moment. It's definitely a good shot, not broken.
And I think that in January, when there's like, this was obviously a data slate that is like to staunch the bleeding, right? Because there's very clearly like 3 different tiers to 40k armies right now. There's good, normal, bad. Now that things will get a little bit squished together, a little bit normalized. In January, we'll probably have more normal codex, and you guys are in a good spot to take advantage of that because you have a codex, and you have six attachments.
Yes.
Yeah, you have 6 attachments, whereas most other armies will still only have 1.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't think Tyranids are in a bad spot at all. I think that they're a good scoring army right now, and with a couple points changes in January. Or is in January points or rules? January is just rules, right? So a couple rules changes in January, and the whole meta could be changed. It could be bugs on top again, just like it was in 9th.
that beautiful 2 months where Crusher Stampede just did whatever the hell that GW thought it should be doing.
I will say I have PTSD from the Flying Hive Tyrant with the Reaper of Literax 2, and that was not Crusher Stampede. That was just Nids being gross. It flew in, killed something, and then ran away, and nobody cared about it.
Yeah, so Crusher Stampede was right before that. Crusher Stampede was, our army was doing so bad, and we were like the second or third to last codex of the edition. They're like, let's throw them a bone, and then we became the monsters of the meta for like a solid month, 2 months until
That's
our
too many
codex
bones.
came out.
Too many bones.
Yeah, too many bones. Instead of throwing us a bone, they throw us a whole ass cow skeleton. They're like, there's no way this could go wrong. Crusher Stampede shows up in an entire army of just 4-up and 5-up feel no pains. Carnifexes were just on the board doing whatever they wanted to do.
Disgusting. All right. So, Deathwatch is next, but I'm just going to do all the Marines at one time just to kind of... Because most of the changes are the same, right? Marines across the board are pretty much unchanged. Obviously, Desolation Squads are completely off the menu. Like, 200, like 40 points a model for 5 guys is...
perfectly acceptable for that garbage squad.
I would much rather them keep the same points, or even got a points cut, and take away the indirect fire roll from him, because something that points efficient for the shooting it provides was very useful because it gives you both anti-infantry and anti-tank. It gave you like decent at both, where most Space Marine units are decent at one or the other. So it's a little. I'm definitely gonna miss my Desolation Squads. But there's a lot of stuff you could pivot to. Hellblasters are pretty cool. Aggressors are pretty cool. And you could also just, run other scoring and skirmishing units and stuff like that and leave Bolter Discipline on the shelf and not take it. Vanilla Marines in general are kind of like, why am I even talking about these? Because they're getting a codex in a month. So who cares? I will say that I don't think there'll be any Loyalist Primarchs on the field of competitive tables right now. I could almost see Gilliman at 380, but he is a stretch, and people weren't really taking him before. Plus, I think that you just need to take other stuff.
Can I really quick? It's because Gulliman at 380 is probably too expensive, because Marines, obviously bringing down one target is fine, no problem with Osa Moment. Mm-hmm. Bringing down 2 targets with Marines a turn, especially if they're tough or valuable targets, they kind of lack the killing power to do so.
Yeah.
So you almost never get value out of the double oaths. So,
you have to be very good to get double value out of the double
oaths.
I will say that it is very theoretical where you have a unit of aggressors, you oath something, kill it, and then you oath something else for your aggressors to overwatch.
Theoretical, practical.
Yeah, I said what I said.
Okay, good. You got the lore reference then?
Oh no, I did not. I thought you were making fun of something.
Dude, Gulliman is theoretical, practical, and that's all he does. He's a weirdo.
Yeah, I think that would be a way to make use of it, but I think you have to really have a lot of foresight that I don't think I have as a player, so I'm not crap talking the crowd out there. It's a hard move to make.
It is a hard move to you have to have mastery over what you're playing. You have to know exactly that your aggressors or your scouts or your knights are going to kill. They're going to kill that. It doesn't matter if their opponent spikes an invul roll. They're still going to kill it, and then you're going to have enough firepower or crump left over to take advantage of your second oath.
Yes. I think that also... I think we should assume that the points in the codex will not override this. I'm not really sure, because the Tyranid Codex technically came out before the data slate by, like 18 hours?
Gotta keep kicking me while you're down, don't you?
So, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, I don't want it just because the meta's kind of lame, but it's, the Vanilla Marines, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because there's literally, like, it's so much unknown. Black Templar got a lot of points drops, actually. They're pretty cute, and, like, their actual specific detachment could even be used. I think you take Grimaldus and a unit of, like, 20 Sword Brethren and just, like, walk them up the field. I think you can give them a 5 up, feel no pain. And, like, they have exploding 5s and 6s, that unit will mulch a lot of things in the game. It's actually surprisingly tough. But probably still want a Gladius, because Gladius is just objectively better. And you splash in a couple other the specialty units. Black Templar vehicles are just objectively better, because it's the same vehicle, just with a multi-melter pinned on.
Well, also we need to see what happens, going back to just Ultramarines, Blue Boys in general, with the index coming up, just what models are all being removed from the codex when it actually comes out.
Yeah, they're slotted to lose.
Chaplain Cassius, I'm calling it.
What are Space Marines are slotted to lose like 32 data sheets or something, which is completely fine.
What, they only have like 200?
Yeah,
They
still only have the most of the game.
They have 2 pages on the manufactured field manual, so like they're the only army
full pages.
And then they also have their faction-specific ones, so they can afford to lose them. It's not a big deal. I think there's a lot of redundancy here that, honestly, they could make the Primaris Dreadnoughts one stat block, in my opinion. Make them all 150, though, GW, because honestly, like, paying more than that hurts my feelings. I don't know why you have to pay, like, the Basilis is the best one because it's shooting exclusively. So why are we paying more for a melee profile? Blood Angels, they got a few cute points drops. You're still not taking Sanguinary Guard, I'll tell you that. Absolutely not. But you could take Death Company with jump packs. They're kind of spicy. You take
Death Company with jump packs looking real good.
It's so with a chaplain, it's 345 for you got 10 angry boys that fly, 40 attacks, AP 2, or because they reroll hits, you could just give them Thunderhammers to give. They only hit on 4s, but obviously full rerolls, +1 to wound from the chaplain, and then reroll hits. That's pretty lethal. And they didn't get nerfed and fly because they're infantry, so they can go through walls. That is definitely an option for you to take, for sure, as a mobile threat. Are Terminators better? I think that's a discussion to be had. I think it really depends what kind of game you want to play, but I definitely think that Blood Angels with flying Thunderhammers coming at your face is not something I want to go against, which means it's probably good. The other Angels, the other Dark Meat, is the Dark Angels. Azrael got a points cut, and I'm slam dunking Azrael in every list. 105 points, a CP every turn, shoots hard, he hits hard, gives a unit a 4-up invuln, give a unit sustain hits. He gives a unit a 4-up feeling of pain against mortals once per game. Okay, that doesn't matter.
I hate Azrael, by the way. I hate him.
He is a good lad, and he is so old, but he doesn't want to die like Dante, so he's better. And his dad's back, so that's pretty cool.
Azrael with the 5 Stern Guard is disgusting, and they should not be that low point costed. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I want to test 10 Stern Guard.
I don't want to fight that, but okay.
What is that? That would be 325 for 10 Stern Guard at Azrael.
Oh, cool.
Ravenwing Bikes and Samael got a point cut. I don't think you take Bikes still. They're still 110 for 3, so it's like 33 and some change points a model. That's a lot for what they do. Samael, I don't think you take him if you're not taking Ravenwing stuff. Talon Master got a points cut though, and that's pretty good. I think the Talon Master could be nice. I think that I'm going to test some Landspeeder Vengeances. And if those don't work out for me, I will test some bikes because I want to go back to testing the bikes with a chaplain to give them devastating wounds because damage to devastating wounds is pretty good. And we'll kind of see what overall. But, Dark Angels were a really good Space Marine chapter to play. I think they still are. I think they got a little bit better. The Deathwing Terminis and the Deathwing Command Squad got a points drop, but I still think Knights are better. I played a game on Friday with a Command Squad, and every turn they were advancing and charging anyway, so it's like I might as well just pay $50 or 50 points more to give myself more durable bodies and hitting harder in melee.
$50 is not incorrect either.
I was going to say that you stole my joke, Michael.
You're welcome.
If you magnetize the shoulders, it's the same amount of dollars for 10. You just have...
This one simple trick GW doesn't want you to know.
3D printers? No, wait, sorry.
GW definitely does not want you to magnetize stuff. That's why everything's going to monopose, I'm convinced.
Well, if they would stop charging $80 for one Haru spec / Exocrine, I'd stop magnetizing everything.
Yeah, it's really that easy. But,
It's just that easy.
Deathwatch, they got to have points height kind of across the board. I think that the Deathwatch detachment is still worth it, even though getting the Vect off the captain isn't quite as good as it used to be. You'll probably end up leaning more on normal Space Marine units instead of this kill team. I think you'll take one kill team just so you're captain to attachment. And the fact that bolt weapons are the only ones you can use the special bolt shots on, why would that not have been the case from day one? So I understand it's technically a nerf, but it's a nerf that, probably should have happened.
Common sense nerf.
Common sense nerf for sure. But Deathwatch can still take the captain who gets a Vect and can do double oath. So you only get double oath once a game as opposed to Gilliman who could do it every game, every turn. But like we said before, it takes a special player to be able to take advantage of it every turn, and you also want to use the other things that Gilliman can bring to the table, whereas this is just a bonus thing you staple on for 35 points. And now we are to the Space Furries. The Space Wolves. 30-point Thunderwolves. That's a decent choice for a build around, in my opinion. They're
tough, but they don't kill anything, Mason, is the problem.
They're 4 wounds apiece, and they're damage 3 on the charge, aren't they? Am I wrong?
I was talking to one of the local wolf players, and he says he'll probably take some. He said that they're still not very lethal on the charge. And I was like, okay, well, I'll have to take your word for it. It's Brian, the guy who plays
I know
literally only Space
I knew who you were talking about as soon as you said the local Space Wolf player. Thunderwolf Cavalry, melee weapons. Oh, wait, they're only damage 1 normally.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said that was what it was. He was like, they're still not lethal. He said that they're so tough that he might end up bringing 12 just to see how they do, but yeah.
Might casually bring 12 60 mil bases. This is what I'm talking about, right? They're not the toughest thing. They're not the hardest hitting thing in the world, but they hit decently hard enough, and 30 points for 4 wounds is pretty good.
But in a game where you can draw a secondary that says kill X units, you gotta be able to kill stuff too. The game is not entirely just scoring primaries. If I draw a secondary that says assassinate and I can't kill anything...
Well, I think these guys are more the skirmishers. They come and they take points, and your actual damaging to stuff will be either Terminators or Bjorn and Murderfang, stuff like that. I don't think you are taking these guys to run into a unit of Terminators and kill them, because you're just not doing that, right? You're absolutely just not going to have... It's not going to happen.
We're figuring the objective reason to play Space Wolves because you like Space Vikings. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason you play Space Wolves, because you're a Viking.
Yeah, and in case it needs to be said, you take a Gladius with them. You do not take the Space Wolf detachment.
No, Space Wolf detachment is bad.
But I think that's the last Space Wolf Space Marine chapter, and most of the stuff after this kind of gets the next one gets fast. Chaos Knights.
Well, are we to Necrons? We're skipping Orcs.
What are
Yeah.
Necrons?
Oh, I was looking at my notes. I wasn't looking at this list.
So Necrons would be up next, which honestly is a short conversation. I mean, some point increases, some changes with the strats, and I mean, I still think there'll be a mid-tier army.
No way. Disagree.
Disagree?
Well,
Hard disagree.
I'll power through the changes that I see, and then Charles, I'm gonna let you go. Overlords are not going to see us play as much because of the changes. The double reanimation is gone, right? That's not going to happen. You're going to see a lot more lords on the table. Warrior blobs, they're in, baby. And warrior blobs, unless you got the DPS check, you ain't killing them. And then they gonna kill you. Lich-Guard, I still think you're going to see a 10-man brick every game. Like, why would you not? But you're not going to see 20, 30 on the table. With the Silent King down with as many points as he is, I don't remember his exact value, I just have notes here. He might actually see the table, especially with Knights being kind of knocked down a peg, and Wraithguard being kind of not, or Wraith, whatever, the giant Wraith boys of Eldar.
The Silent King is 420 Blaze It, for the record.
Yeah. You might end up seeing the Silent King on the board. And he's pretty good. So we'll see. And the reason I'm taking Necrons is I love Necrons, and I have a huge army. I just haven't played them in a long time. Reanimators at 105, they're still amazing. You'll never not see a Reanimator or 3 on the table. Whatever. They're so good. The Transcendent Satan at 310, that's kind of high, but it's like the Shalaxi thing. They're nigh unkillable, and they hit so hard. And they're difficult to remove. I still think you're going to see Transcendent Satans everywhere. I do believe you're going to see more Destroyers, right? With Ophidians going down so much and the Scorpex dropping a few points, you're going to see more Destroyers on the table. And they hit pretty hard, too. And then I think either people are going to lean into the Doomsday Arc change with, they saw a pretty hefty points increase. And they're going to lean into the Doomstalkers, and you're going to see 2 or 3 of them with the supporty boy that gives them all the support. I don't remember the unit. But I believe you are going to see some more Doomstalkers on the table. And then I'll finish with this, and I'm going to let Charles go. I think Necrons are going to be a top 3 army because they play the mission insanely well, and they have a hard DPS check. If you cannot kill those Lich-Guard or those Warriors, you lose the game. Because they're going to come back and they're going to grind you down. So, Charles, take it away, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think I have really anything additional to add. Like, those are exactly the reasons why I think they are going to be probably second best. If Eldar is still first, I think Necrons are going to be second. Every mission in 40k from the beginning of time has either been go kill this or go stand here. And Necrons do both of those things very well. The Necron warrior block, its natural predator was devastating wounds, and it would spill over and it would kill the warrior blob. That is not a thing anymore. They're going to be so hard to deal with, those warrior blocks now. And I think that's why they're going to be number 2, in my opinion.
I agree and disagree with some points, but overall, I think Necrons will definitely be a good army. I don't think I don't really see a point in taking Lich-Guard at this point. I think I'd rather just put the 4-up invuln on a unit of warriors and say this unit's really unkillable, and these other 2 are probably unkillable. Even if Necrons end up not being, Necrons really will depend on like how many armies out there that are on the top of the meta have the tools and resources available to kill 20 warriors in 1 activation. If you can do that, then if a lot of armies can do that, Necrons are not a good army. Period. If that's a commonplace thing, Necrons suck. They're gonna drop. I don't think right now they can. I don't think there's a lot of armies out there that I think you have to build specific units in your army that maybe you're not taking normally to include those. I can think of a couple units for Space Marines that can take those, that I'm on the fence about them right now. I think Orks weirdly have a good Necron matchup because
no one does kill like Overkill, and you can't spell Overkill without Orc.
Yeah, I mean you just run I think 10 boys, once you account for casualties from Overwatch and stuff like that, I think they still pick up a unit of 20. No,
10 boys won't pick up a unit of 20. 20 boys will pick up a unit of 20 warriors. 10 knobs will absolutely pick up a unit of 10 of 20 warriors.
But I think that there are a lot of threats out there for Necrons, but I think it really just depends on where, what's common enough that is going to hold Necrons back. I think it's Necrons meta to lose. I don't know if I agree with number 2, but I definitely think the top 5 is where they're going to sit.
They definitely have their natural predators, like the boys or aggressors with the biologists. I think that can take out a block if they get in range.
Yeah,
but those are, you got to get to them first.
You have to be able to see them, and if they're behind a wall, standing on a point, you just don't have that point.
I don't need the warriors to do anything except exist, and that means it's up to you, your opponent, to change the state of the game, because in the state of the game where the Necron warrior blobs just exist, I am winning. As soon as I put those warriors on the table, I am winning. So it's going to be a hard swing for your opponent to try and solve that. That's in my opinion. And Necrons are my third army, so I'm not an expert. Take that with a grain of salt.
I just from what I'm seeing, I think Necrons will definitely gain percentage from 4. They're already at 49, right? So it's not like they're in a bad spot. I think that they will definitely be in the. I think they might be looking for cuts in January is where they're looking right now. So before we move on, I'm going to pull my headphones just away from my head. Will, go ahead and tell us about Orks.
Okay, Orks overall made out positive, right? The changes to the Beast Boss were kind of mean. I don't agree with them. You still almost never got value back, even at 80 points, like straight up. But whatever. Let's talk about the positives. Wait, one more negative. Met guns going up to 55 was probably necessary. They're still not great, right? And everyone who quotes Math Hammer to me can go jump off a bridge, right? A short bridge. Don't hurt yourself naturally. I have fielded Met guns game after game, and they consistently fail to impress. They consistently fail to do anything because AP2 and everyone and their cousin getting cover means AP1, and if you're shooting into vehicles, many vehicles have a 2-up or 3-up. So then you get 2 wounds through. Well, congratulations, you do 2d6 damage. Well, you're going to do 6-7 damage. Okay, the bad is done. Good. War Boss is at 65 points. Beautiful. Absolutely glorious. They're only good on the Wa turn, right? Because you're getting 10 attacks on the Wa. Because, you get your 4 base plus... You get 9 attacks. You get your 4 base, 4 attacks for having called the Wa, and then 1 additional for the Wa turn. They're good. They're really good. And I find that 5... So people... I've gotten the question over and over again, why don't you field 10 knobs with your War Boss? 10 knobs with a War Boss just deletes anything in the game. And then they just die. They're glass cannons. So 5 knobs with a War Boss, I think my end game list is probably going to take 2 of them. Because 5 knobs and a War Boss delete anything that they touch. With rare exception. Boys still suck, right? They got OC2, but on the Wa turn, they're strength 5, and they got some attacks, but everyone and their cousin has AOC, Armor of Contempt. So, boys still suck. You can't change my mind. Snag-a-boys are okay. They're better because they hit that break point of strength 6, which means that they actually wound most vehicles on 5s versus 6s, whereas boys, you're still wounding most vehicles on 6s, even at strength 5. So, I think the boy blob... I tried it. It's okay against Mason. I'll probably try it again in the future. Boys are still just not worth it. I don't know what else to say. Until they get something that says that they wound anything on a 5 you're just not going to see them. They're just not worth it. They don't do anything. Grot's going down to 40 was kind of confusing because Grot's already like the best unit in my codex, except for Trucks. So, whatever. And Trucks going up to 60, completely necessary. If you're mad about that as an Orc player, I don't know what to tell you. Trucks were criminally undercosted at 50 points. Let's see. Snagas are still very good. My next list that I'm going to try against Mason and beating him up with is going to include almost exclusively Snagga Boys models. Killrigs going down to 200. Killrigs are one of those Enigma units where they can do everything. They can shoot. They are fast. They're tough. They have good melee. And they have transport capacity. So them coming down to 200 points a model, I'm not sure if I'm going to fit 1 or 3 into my lists yet. Because they're good, right? The auto-hitting last cannon is so good. I find that auto-hitting last cannon, especially against like Mason, who I would put Mason's probably a better player than I am, that has consistently done more damage than my mech guns. So take that for what you will. And then they get the buff, the Spirit Orc, right? Which is +1 to the strength characteristic of everything that they touch, or if you roll a 6, it's like one of the strength and attacks characteristic, and they get lethal hits or something, just something ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't really need lethal hits, but they get it, I guess.
Yeah, they don't need it, but they get it. Mega Knobs coming down points, that's nice. I don't care. I'm still not going to field them. They're the biggest pieces of trash in the whole codex. If you take Mega Knobs, I'm sorry for you. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, those boys did nothing yesterday. They did nothing with like style.
They just do nothing. They just die. They're like, I'm so tough. Well, 5 Stern Guard shot into him with Ezreal, and I lost 3. I lost 3 Mega Knobs. Like, dude. And then when they do make it into melee with the wall running, well, they got 3 whole attacks with their twin kill saws, and they do like 4 damage. That's nice. No one's ever going to take Mega Knob, sweetie. Gazgul is still a pile of trash. He's a big Mega Knob. Cool. And he can only go into other Mega Knobs. He can't be embedded into boys. And if Gazgul could be embedded into 20 boys, I'd take Gazgul. But until he can, he's a pile of trash, and I won't take him.
In an effort to not spread misinformation, you only get 2 attacks with your twin kill saws.
That's what I said.
You said
with
3.
3 with the wah. I said 3 with the wah.
Oh, 3. Did you say 3 with the wall? Okay, I thought you said
3 with the wah. You're hitting on 4s.
I was rubbing some salt in it.
How can you question the 8th best Orc player?
Shut up.
Have you done a 10th tournament yet?
No, I've not done a 10th tournament yet.
He's not even ranked right now.
I'm unranked. I'm a piece of garbage. I'm garbage.
He's a filthy casual.
I'm a filthy casual at this point. Overall, but because Storm Boys are 65 points a model, the Weird Boy can jump by himself. Orc's ability to play the mission is nearly unparalleled, with exception with Tyranids. Tyranids can play the mission better than we can, and Necrons maybe. Orcs are definitely a top 10 army. If I had to put Orcs somewhere, I'd put Orcs at number 6. Right? My ability to put 5 Storm Boys down anywhere on the board, score me points. Done. My ability to take objectives from you with 10 Snagga Boys who are kind of a pain in the butt to kill. Yeah. Malzrag Scragbad being 200 some points, 195, whatever he is, very good. Beast Boss on Squigsar, he's good too. So the Orc's ability to play the mission is very, very strong. I'm guessing with Eldar getting a couple knuckle dusters to the face, and the big boys getting a couple knuckle dusters face, Orcs are going to sit about 53% win rate, which is good, but we still don't kill. And this is just Will's opinion. This is hot take time. It doesn't feel good not being able to kill very much, but you still just score the mission over and over and over again because you just can't be killed. Orcs can take a punch to the face and keep on trucking, which is cool, but you ain't killing very much. So, all right, there's my rant. Sorry.
I think you were spot on with most of the stuff you said, though. I think Orcs are good. I don't think they're super lethal, which feels wrong for Orcs. But yeah, they're going to be good if you just want to play an army that plays the mission well, and maybe you lose 100 models, but you brought 200, so you're fine.
Yeah,
Orcs is your army. But now we're on to some spiky friends. Just because I have it up, I'm going to talk about Chaos Knights before Chaos Space Marines, even though Chaos Space Marines are slightly above them. Chaos Knights didn't really change. I think they're going to get a little bit better just because people are going to be taking less for things like Loyalist Knights. So people are going to take a little bit less anti-tank, and that'll help them. And the towering changes really affect them because I think Chaos Knights are mostly leading into War Dog spam. So I think Chaos Knights are in the same exact spot. I think that their win rate will rise overall because a lot of their Predators got nerfed. So that's pretty cool. But my friends, the Chaos Space Marines, so there's a lot of red on here. There are a lot of nerfs and stuff like that. Abaddon going up 30 points. The Forge Fiend went up, I think, 35, 25. These changes in a vacuum were not required, right? Like, based on where Chaos Space Marines was performing, I don't think they needed anything to be nerfed. However, the fact that the best armies got pulled down, Chaos Space Marines getting these nerfs is totally fair, and I think Chaos is in a great spot right now. I think that it is top 5 army easily. They hit harder than probably anything out there that's not an elf.
Top 3, come on, Mason. I would put them at number 3 right now.
Listen, I was trying to cut out my bias, but I would put them at number 3 as well.
I would put them at number 3, man. They're lethal. They're hard to kill. There's a lot of them.
One of my favorite units, too, Warp Talons. 100 points for 5.
Dude.
Oh, I'm just so excited about it.
If you aren't taking 3 units, I'm a Chaos enjoyer myself. If you aren't taking 3 units of Warp Talons, what are you doing? They can deep strike. They hit like trucks. They're difficult to remove. They're fast as hell. Whew.
I will say you don't have the points for 3 units, unfortunately. The codex is tight because you're still taking Abaddon for sure. And I am not brave enough to pair Abaddon with Legionaries. I don't know how people do it. It seems crazy to me. But, so you're probably taking unit Terminators, and that's like 700 points. That's a lot of points. People are taking Obliterators. I could actually see people dropping a unit of Obliterators here. I'm not sure yet. I know that the local Chaos player that I play with all the time, he loves them. I have always hated Obliterators because, like, they always seem to be too expensive for what they are. They were definitely worth their points at their last value. I think they were, 95 points a model. Now,
they might be too much.
They might be a little too much.
We're going to send this directly to our friend. I'll call him out, Fabian. By the way,
yes, we'll say what it is. Forge Fiends are worth 880 points, 100%. You definitely take 1. Minimum, you take 1. I think that you want to make room for 2 because they shoot like a truck.
They still hit so hard.
This is just a curious nerf for me, so I have to call it out. They dropped the points cost of possess by 10 points for the unit, and then they raised the master possession 10 points. So the package is the same. Like, why even waste the time filling it out? I don't understand. Like, because you probably weren't taking possess without him. So maybe that's what they want to do. They want to say, like, maybe if you want to take the unit to possess without the master possessions, we'll make him a little cheaper. But you're really probably not because you want that 6-up Field of Pain. Trash Store the Archifane being 190. He's still not going to see play. It doesn't matter.
I hate you. He's sitting at my desk glaring at me.
Oh, yeah. He's over there in the corner. Actually, I haven't faced... Like, because I keep pushing models in front of him to paint. He's currently pointed directly at the corner. That's where he's going to stay until he gets some better rolls. The model's gorgeous. I want him to be good, but he just isn't. But you know what? He is not the biggest disappointing character in the Codex. That belongs to Harkin World Claimer. This dude's datasheet is cracked. He is great. And then you see he can join Raptors. Yeah, if you could put this man in a unit of Warp Talons, he's an auto-include. He is dumb. But as is, he's going to stay. I don't even have one, so I have no interest in buying one because he hasn't been good since I started playing again. So I don't get it. Noise Marines, you can still take them, but honestly, you're probably taking a Changeling and units and Nurglings and stuff like that. So by the time you take that, you might be able to fit in a Help Root. You got your Abaddon Terminators, a couple Forge Fiends, a Help Root, some warp talons, nurglings. You're running out of space to put stuff. So unfortunately, you can't take a lot of things. I think Chosen and a Rhino is also a spicy take. But I think that Chaos is in a great spot. I'm really excited to see what they do. My spiky little friends are going to be winning some tournaments for me. I hopefully, not mine particularly, because I'm not going to any major events in the next 3 months that I know that I have currently planned. But I am really hoping that Chaos gets some GT wins. Actually, no, I'm a liar. I'm hoping they get a bunch of they perform really poorly. Like no good players play Chaos, so they get another round of buffs. So in January I can pivot to Chaos and have a great time. But enough of me being a terrible person. Michael, tell us about the guard, son.
Weirdly, they got a lot of point reduction. Like the list I had planned to run, which is heavy vehicle, went down almost 200 points, which includes a Baneblade, like Leman Russ, and 3 Basilisks. So, I mean, that's also 3 heavy weapons teams. I mean, it's like all indirect fire and a whole bunch of chaff. But yeah, I mean, everything just went down in points. I think they'll probably go up a little bit, but the strat change does hurt because the only one they can use the multiple on now is Fields of Fire, which is a TCP strat. So, I mean, it's you know, I have questions, but I mean, I'm happy to field more units. I mean, I can throw another block of, Krieg or Kading Command Squad out there and just have even more of a Horde army with all the indirect fire I want. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the meta lists come out. I'm really surprised all the blades dropped. The Bane Blade, Bane Hammer, Bane Sword. I don't know that they needed a points drop, but I'll take it. I'll take a 60-point drop for my Bane Blade.
I mean, yeah, why would you be upset about that, right?
Yeah, more models on the table. I mean, the Demolisher, Leman Russ Demolisher dropped 20 points. The Eradicator dropped 20 points. I mean, there's just so much that dropped in points. So I'm excited to see how the Guard play out, especially with a good vehicle, heavy
parking lot.
So I'm happy that the Earthshaker carriage went up literally as a 50% points increase to 120 points.
Good.
So I don't think you take 3 Basilisks, 3 Earthshakers, which is nice. I think that maybe I'm hoping that the list pivots so you don't take any of those because they're not really fun to play against. In fact, the all indirect guard army was like one of the least fun games I play. If the player I played at the RTT is listening, I'm not gonna name drop you, but sorry, was not a fun game. I think you knew that what it was. It was either you kill me or I kill you, and that was the game. But other than that, I think that I'm excited to see more guards on the table. Put some boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
And let me see those boots. Don't stand behind a wall and shoot me.
Yeah.
That's
no,
nonsense.
They need to stand behind a Bane Blade and shoot.
That's fine, because
that's fine.
It's in front.
Yep.
That's cool.
But yeah, even Kading Shock Troops went down. So, I mean, there'll be a lot more models on the field, I think. And I think the indirect list is going to go away. Although with my list, I could actually fit an Earthshaker in there still. With the point reduction I had. So, it's a possibility. But if you want more just soldiers on the table, you can field so much because of the points drop. It's very much a Horde army still.
Well, that's what Imperial Guard is, though, right? So
it's what it should be. I think so.
You have a parking lot of 1,000 points that sits in the back, and then you have your troops who go forward and capture objectives for the glory of the Emperor, and then they happen to die. So it's fine.
They are the meat grinder. They're gonna clog up their opponent's guns with all their blood, and then we're gonna move on.
I still get good CP regen on them. I can only use that one strat for free, but I can still use I can use that one strat multiple times. But yeah, so the CP change or the strat change is going to be where I question what's going to happen. But we'll see over the next few weeks.
Always like to see a non-indirect focus guard army on the table because it always looks so good.
Yeah, I need way more models for that.
Well, there's time.
No.
There's always all the time in the world.
There's not enough time.
Charles, tell us about your evil Eldar.
Yeah.
Misunderstood.
So Jakari, just a handful of things to talk about here. Nothing too crazy. Everything went down in points except for Ravagers. Ravagers were undercosted. 95 points for a gunboat was a little too cheap. That's what they were previously, I believe. Now they're up 115 or something like that. That's fine. Whatever. Everything else went down. The sad thing here is it didn't change anything. So they got no day slate changes, and these points changes themselves did not fluctuate the list enough to change the archetype that you play. Right?
Melee still sucks, right?
Yeah. Does not put in the work it used to.
Nope.
We are still very much index Darklance. With that being
Feels bad. I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. It's very much how they used to play pre 9th edition. So in 7th and 8th, they were a mobile gun platform army.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Like 9th edition, like Dark Elves were really fun to fight in 9th edition.
Yeah, 9th edition was a huge change for them. They transformed to a precision-based glass scalpel melee army. But now they're back to the way they used to be. But with free war gear, that just means we're just touting all the Dark Lances that we can bring.
Ugh.
Couple confusing changes in here, though. So Scourge, those are like our Devastators, right? They each guy carries a Dark Lance. They used to be you would bring 5, and that was like, a set amount of points, and then you would bring 10. Well, those next 5 couldn't take more special weapons, so they were, it wasn't double the cost of 5. It was cheaper. Those next 5 were cheaper. So Scourge went down in points, but the 10-man squad is now actually just double the 5-man squad. But they can't take special weapons, so it's just I'm probably not explaining that very well, but if you look at the points, you'll see it's a very confusing points change. Like, no reason to ever take 10 now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the previous, so it used to be 80 points for 5 more bodies, now it's an additional 110. So I don't know if that's a type, maybe that's just a cut and paste there or whatever, but you're right, that is super weird.
Yeah, and they were lower, which made sense, because they would be ablative wounds because they can't take the special weapons. So new points, they went down, which is awesome. I take 3 squads of 5 in every list. It's just an odd change. So that's one thing to call out. The second weird thing to call out, or not necessarily weird, but the Archon got nerfed. We talked about a little bit. Archon got nerfed, and the fact that his Vect only applies to battle tactics now, because that's just how they do. And my favorite change from this round of changes isn't even in the points. It is in the designer's commentary. Previously, if your vehicle had a base, you had to measure all distances to and from that base. This is true for every vehicle with a base. Repulsors, land speeders, etc. Dark Eldar boats, right? You measure to and from the base. The designer's commentary had a change that says, okay, if you're a vehicle and you have a base, just use the hull. So it just is a nice quality of life change for Drukhari and other, floating vehicle armies. You just use the hull, even if you have a base on those guys. So that's my favorite part of it. Everything went down, which was nice. Did not change the list archetype. I think I'm taking one extra. I dropped a Ravager and added in a Void Raven Bomber. So just really one model swap and got me back up to 2K. Same list archetype. Very uneventful. I don't think we're going to gain anything from this. Our natural.
You got some points drops though, right?
Yeah.
Well, like kind of what he's saying is like because everything went down except for like models that you're spamming anyway. Because you're taking a couple Ravagers at least minimum, right?
You always take 3. Yeah.
So it kind of just becomes a wash at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you might see a minor bump because you do gain a couple more bodies on the table. So I don't know.
I literally got rid of a gunboat, added a plane, and I was set.
I'm sorry, buddy.
It's fine.
Weird choices.
But that's it.
I feel as though Drukhari is oftentimes forgotten about because, to be fair, I forget they are a faction all the time. Sorry, Charles.
They are not only in the concept of rules, but you can't even. So year and a half ago when they were like doing those these models are leaving our range. Half of the Drukhari model line is not available to purchase. You just can't buy it.
You can't start a Drukhari army right now. You either have one or you don't.
Yeah. So I
hilarious.
do feel like GW's like, oh yeah, whatever, like screw these guys. It's a very common thing amongst the Drukhari community is too strong a word, but Drukhari players like Reddit and Dark City, all these other places where like you can't buy grotesques, so people will kit bash, or we use 3D prints, and they're called from Edge Miniatures. Like racks are from Edge Miniatures. Like it's a known thing that half a Drukhari army is converted or 3D printed because you literally cannot buy this shit. Anyways.
GW. Well, maybe when they get a codex. I don't know when they're slotted to have a codex. Probably in like 2025, but you'll get a range.
The end of 10th edition, you'll get one. Don't worry about it.
Well, this episode's getting pretty long, but good news is the Adept Sororitas will be very quick.
I'll take these. I got these, Mason.
Go ahead, man.
Sisters, my friend Phil messaged me about this a little bit. They're the same. All the points
they
drop
got nothing.
Are like they got some minor points drops. Irrelevant. The end. Like too long, didn't read. Sisters are inherently kind of a melee faction via the Pentia and stuff, and like Zeraphim and whatever. Doesn't matter. They suck. The Exorcist got the indirect treatment, so they're done. You're probably still going to see Exorcist because that's their like best shooting unit, but that's it.
They'll be lucky to hit 45%.
Maybe
they're going to be hanging the bottom for sure.
Agreed. And then so we'll just skim over. I'm sorry, Sisters players. Like you guys.
No, I mean that's all there is to say. Like there's no major changes to the game. There's no.
You guys have such beautiful armies, and they all look amazing. And I love fighting Sisters, but I'm sorry.
Yep.
Admech, same kind of thing. They got some points drops. You might see some Cataphragm spam. You're going to be sitting in the same boat, low 40s.
Yes, Admech and Sisters are going to be on the bottom for sure.
It's not that we don't like you guys, but GW doesn't. So
apparently not.
I think we can move to Death Guard with Michael, and this might take a couple
World
minutes
Eaters.
because
you skipped two whole factions actually. World Eaters for Michael.
Yeah, and then we can go to Death Guard, but
And Grey Knights, guys.
nobody cares about Grey Knights.
Grey Knights, all right. I'm skipping the line. I'm going Grey Knights. Grey Knights got some really good buffs. I think Grey Knights are going to be a good army. I think they're going to be 52, 53. I don't care. At me about it.
I mean, they're supposed to be a good army from jump, so I was surprised when they were as low as they were.
Yeah, I think that the buffs they have, their faction rules are just straight cracked. Like I think that everything they got is going on is really good. Like I said, I think they're going to be good. I think that you don't have to spam Terminators. The fact that you can take other stuff it means you'll have a lot more stuff on the board to play. It means you'll actually have to make a decision on what you're going to teleport, because before, if you only had 3 meaningful units, you teleported every turn. But hey, that means you can do stuff. And they have like the best strategy, like the second best strategy in the game. Phantasm was obviously the best. What is it? Mist of Deimos, I think is what it's called, is like an insane strat. It's great. So, you guys may want to skip Grey Knights, but I don't think you're going to be able to very long, because I think that they are going to make a mark on the meta soon for sure. But go ahead, talk about your World Snackers.
So 5 models didn't get hit, and everything else dropped a good 10% in points, which makes me happy. I was surprised Angron did not actually go up in points, because he is just a menace. But I'm happy he's still at 415. I think, so there's another channel I watch to plug them. It's called The Red Path. They're very much a World Eaters focused channel. And I was watching some of his stuff while I was looking at lists. And I think the basic blueprint for the current World Eaters meta list is just going to be Angron, Karn drop, so you can bring Karn in, Lord Invo, and 2 MOEs for your characters. One MOE has the glaive, and the other has the Favor to Corn for the rerolls. 2 10-man bricks of Jackals, then you're going to have, because Berserkers also dropped well in points, you're going to have 2 10-man bricks and 1 5-man brick of Berserkers. And then the rest is going to be soup. So like the current list I'm looking at includes a Rhino and also includes 1 unit of 8-bound and 2 units of Exalted 8-bound. So the MOE and Glaive and Karn are attached to the Zerker bricks. The last MOE is attached to the 5-man brick of Berserkers. Put Karn in the Rhino with the Berserkers, run them up the board, and just go at it. The Scout move with 8-bound and Lord Invo. I think it's going to be a doable list. I don't think it's going to be probably an above 55% win rate list, but I think they'll be above the 40% or whatever they're at now. The issue, though, is I think the new Death Guard changes, just sort of souping into that, is going to be a hard counter to World Leaders with the new aura buffs they have.
Yeah, it is. That is. You're right. I never thought of it that way, but you're right. The Death Guard do kind of counter World Leaders really well, which is fitting for Chaos.
But
do you want to talk about Death Guard too, since you're hype about?
Sure. But the last thing I'll say is World Leaders. I'm pleasantly pleased with the points drops. It lets me run models I didn't think I'd be able to run again, because I was not going to pay 360 points for 6 8-bound Exalted 8-bound. It just wasn't worth it with what those models did.
No, that's nuts.
Everything dropped. So I'm pleased with the list. I'm also pleased to be able to run Lord Invo and Karn in the list too, because they're fun to run and they both do a lot of good stuff for the army. But going into Death Guard, so I still say Death Guard's going to be top tier army. I'm telling you, my hot take from like however many episodes ago, they're going to be up there. Plague Burst Crawlers are really good. Throw in some Bright Hollers, some Terminator bricks, and just deep strike in with the aura they have. And, especially the aura that gives them higher OC, you're not going to be able to take points. You're not going to be able to remove them from objectives unless you kill everything they have on there. They may be slow, but they're going to be rough to get through. So the new detachment rule, or rather the addition to their current detachment rule, Scabrous Soul Rot, that aura that gives them 1 extra OC in that unit. The Rattle Joint, it just worsens your saves by 1, and then the Skullsworm Blight, which just reduces weapon skill and ballistic skill by 1. So, I mean, if you're close, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, I think that because -1 toughness is does not do anything. So having these auras that you pick depending on your opponents, you have flexibility, which is really great to have as an army that is slower than Molasses. Is great. Top tier, I don't think.
95% win rate. Calling it.
It's definitely going to be 90. If there's a 95% win rate, I'd probably still stop playing the game for any game. Like, if there's any army that's that high, it's like, if I'm not playing that army, I'm not going to play. But it is definitely, it's not going to be painful to play them, and it's not going to be painful to play against them. Now, I am in love with these changes. I'm so glad they made them. I've seen a lot of really nicely painted Death Guard army, and it's nice that people can put them on the table.
Yeah, it's going to make the army more fun to play, and it's not going to make people depressed to play that army.
Right. All right. Tau. Forget everything we just said about every other army, because Tau are the biggest winners of this data slate.
Mason, I'm gonna let you go, but I'm gonna pull a full Kanye. I'm gonna get real close to my mic. I hate fighting Tau. I hate being told by my opponent to pick up models for 30 minutes at a time because they can only do 1 phase at a time. And there's no counterplay. It's just, I'm going to move my crisis suits here and I'm going to go full rerolls, hitting on 3s, pick up your models. I'm sorry, Tau players. I cannot stand the Tau playstyle because it's Eldar, but worse. So go ahead, continue.
Michael, make sure you clip out Will's audio there and send it to Martin Scorsese for his next film.
I'll work on that.
Because he's really working for that gritty cop who's just trying to take down the Tau Empire from within.
I can't help it, man. It's so uninteractive. They're just like, I'm gonna shoot you, and I'm like, can you do anything else? They're like, no, I can only shoot you.
So here's the silver lining, right? Crisis battle suits. They shoot you. They kill anything they look at. They kill you. But then they kill a bunch of themselves too. So that's something.
Is that something? I'm sorry. Is that something?
It kind of is, because the 6 models. If they overcharge 6 cyclic ion blasters, that's 18 hazardous tests.
Maybe they'll all die. That'd be nice.
Yeah, like it's some content creator said that unit burns the candle at both ends because it really does. The downside is you can no longer vect, strike, and fade, so they're doing it every turn. Every turn they're striking and fading. Maybe one, like, because it's 2 CP, maybe they're not doing it once. But, like, yeah, it is that they're going to fly over anywhere and shoot you. If you have anything durable that can withstand shooting from them, they're not going to be able to hold the center, because if they stay on the point, then they get charged, and they are still made of Tau, so they still die in combat.
Gork.
But... yeah, if anything they want to kill, they will kill it. They are extraordinarily lethal, and now they have a lot of points extra to make stuff go to the trash can where they feel it needs to be, to the greater
Mason,
trash can.
Tau are going to be a top 10 army. I'm calling them... You know what? I'm going to go really hot take.
You're too low.
No, what?
You're too low. Top 10 is too low.
I think they're... this is really hot, then. I think they're going to be number 4. Because you're going to see 18 crisis suits every game.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that the only thing... Like, 18 crisis is expensive monetarily, so I think that will hold some players
If you got
back.
18 crisis suits, GG, easy, idiots, pay more money.
Yeah. I mean, you will... Like, unless there are a lot of, like, Eldar and I mean, really Eldar at your local RTTs, you're walking over most of the RTTs at that point. You're getting first. Because, like, if I'm bringing, like, if like, even my Deathwing Knights, like, they're not going to stand up to that shoot. Well, Deathwing Knights will actually stand up to shooting from Cyclid Ion Blasters, but most armies don't have Deathwing Knights in them. Most of them don't have Terminators with Dig 1 damage. Like, these things are so gross, and, like, you could still, you still have other stuff in the thing. You can, what are these stealthy big suits?
Ghost kills.
Ghost kills?
Disgusting.
Yeah, you outflank ghost kills. You have your small mission units and your stealth suits. Like, this data slate was a huge glow up for Tau. Like, people wanted to see, and when I say people, I mean Will, wanted to see Eldar get a 20% win rate tank. Tau might have just got a 20% win rate bump.
Look at the Storm Surge, man. 65-point decrease.
Yeah, someone out there really liked watching Gundam Wing when they grew up, and they're like, oh, I want Tau to do better now, so I'm going to give them a little buff.
I cannot stand the Tau meta. Like, shooting metas in general irritate me, because it's just, I moved my models here, can I see you? You're dead. Right? Like,
you mean this meta entirely?
Yes.
I mean, it's a shooting meta.
The shooting meta in general is just... I'm sorry for my shooting players. God, there's going to be a lot of people who hate me if they listen to this. The shooting meta in general is unhealthy for the game because there's no counterplay, right? The counterplay is, do you have enough terrain? And if you don't have enough terrain, well, congratulations, I'm going to glass you from orbit. I shouldn't have to have terrain. I shouldn't have to rely on TOs, real-life monetary expenses, in order to play the game at an adequate level and to be fun for both players, right? Because even if it's a melee meta, 9th edition, melee meta, you know what? Shooting was still relevant. You still had shooting in every list because it was important. Shooting metas inherently are less interactive. There's no counter-strikes. There's no worrying about if you can get counter-charged. There's no worrying about heroic interventions. It's just, can I see you? I'm going to blow you up. My rant is done. I'm sorry. I'm very, very upsetty spaghetti.
Well, at the very least, it's not a mono Tau meta. It is definitely, Tau is a top contender in a meta.
Got me there.
It could be worse. Let's be thankful for what we have. But Tau got a huge blow up, and I legitimately could see them at the next Meta Watch being a 58% win rate army. So it's literally a 20% bump. And then we have another 20% win rate bump. Okay, that's not true at all. This is not correct. But we did get a lot of love. Is our Short Kings, the Votan. This is our last faction. Yeah, they're better. I want to give this a glowing review. They fixed one of the major issues with the armies. You can't give out judgment tokens. Like giving out your 2 at the start of the game is not enough. So now you give out 2 to 4 units. So you pick your opponent's 3 best units, and then you pick one little thing you can kill for trash. So you kill the trash unit, so you get your CP at the beginning of the game, and then you give out tokens as you can. And also you just points got slashed, just bargain basement prices. A lot of people online are saying they're a horde army. They're not a horde army. Like horde army is 120 boys. I don't know what dwarfs you're playing. Like I understand you have more models, and I did admittedly lose. I think like 300 points from my list, but the dwarfs are just fine. They're
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. They're not a horde army. They're definitely still like middle elite. They're more elite than Guard. They're more elite than Orks and Tyranids. Well, more than Horde Tyranids, of course.
I was just going to say the reason people think they're horde armies is because you have, a paragraph of models, so that's all they can run is what's here. They need the range needs to be expanded. I think that's really what it needs. But yeah, points just across the board. I mean, like the Berserks, 70 points for 10 models. The reduction is huge.
They are a relatively new faction. I would have liked to see at release probably 2 more model kits, or maybe 2 more unit types, or just had like a couple like dual boxes where like you could do Hearthkin Warriors or Hearthkin Scouts, whatever, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, stuff like that. But you're still not fielding that many guys, Like you're fielding like between 2 to 6 Sagittars and enough Hearthkin, so like in the same amount of Hearthkin Warriors. So that's kind of hordy. I don't think you're fielding 6. I think that you're fielding 4 at the most. I would probably field 4 if I had it, which means you're fielding 40
Just spend 1,000 points on vehicles. Do 3 land fortresses, 3 Sagittars, and then just fill out the rest of the army.
I'm going to be taking a land fortress for fun, but I think you'll leave them at home. Chthonian Berserks got such a huge point drop, and like, Will, you played against my Chthonian Berserks, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Do you think they're worth 100 points for 5? The answer is no, but I'm sure
they didn't do anything.
They don't do a single thing. And they don't have an armor
No.
They can't
You were just
charge.
I was like, I'm shooting it with sluggers, and you're like, I'm taking feel no pains. And I was like, wait, what?
No, I had it's AP0. They have a 6-up save. So you get a 6-up and then
Whatever.
5. But as soon as you swing any AP into them, they just like, ow, I have stabbed in the chest. Do I feel it? I feel it. I'm dead. And they're only 2 wounds. They're berserkers. They have 2 wounds. There's not a 3-wound model in the Codex other than the characters. And then we still have the worst character in the game in Uthar the Destined, who does nothing. He's just sad.
He's Carl's older brother. That's about it.
Yeah, he is his older brother who peaked in high school for sure. Like, 9th ed was high school, that's where he peaked. But it's nice that there is some play, and I think that the army can get to 45% now. I think that you could take it to a GT and get. I think that a really, really good player could go 3-2. I think that the average player would at least get 1 win, maybe 2. Whereas I don't think I think that if you were not a great player and you took it to a GT, I think that you could very well expect to go X5, and just that is what it is. So it is nice to see that they have improved a lot. But yeah, I would like a couple new models. I would like a couple new rules. I would like something. Let them soup something. Give them like an ally. Let them
Tau.
like, oh, you can take a unit of guardsmen.
No, give them Tau. I mean, they got Tau weaponry, so give them Tau. Plus, it's more lower appropriate.
Hate them. No.
So I guess here's the final question. Unless you got more to talk about Votan.
No, I don't. It's really it. It's just the fact that the whole army got cheaper is great, but it's still not going to be enough to make them a winning army. Except they're definitely going to still be they're going to struggle to hit 45, I think.
Okay, so my final question to everybody then is, what is your overall ranking for all the changes from S tier, A tier, B tier? What is the overall rank you're going to give the changes that just came out with the slate? Right now, I'm looking at a solid B, I think. I think the changes are a little ham-fisted for some of it. I don't think changes were enough for some armies, and I think the changes tend to hurt more than help for some of the armies. What about y'all?
I completely agree. I would 100% give it a B. There was some stuff that is definitely good because it brings some really bad codexes in line, but then there's a lot of people that just got hit by strays that didn't deserve it, and I'm not really sure what the goal was with that. So definitely a solid B.
I'll go. I think so. I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to say it's an A, right? Like some of the codices, indices got hit with strays, but you know what? I don't feel that bad. Some of them were like custodians. I don't feel that bad for them. They're still going to sit around 50%. In addition, same thing with Tyranids. Tyranids are going to sit well over 50% for right now, right, because of their codex. And I don't feel that bad for them. I think that this was, while a little ham-fisted, most of the changes make sense. Most of the changes are okay to good, in my opinion. Sorry about Thousand Suns. You guys got dumpstered, and I got nothing for you. I'll pass it over to Mason.
So I'm going to make Will's take less controversial because I'm going to make Charles be the tiebreaker because I was also thinking an A. And this is solely in like context of GW's other data slates.
Oh, God, yes.
Right? This was definitely more, and this was definitely better than what I was anticipating. Because B is typically what I anticipate from GW, which is usually either too much or not enough. There was definitely like a little too much and a little not enough here, but for the most part, like they touched everything that needed to be touched at least a little bit. And what they did was they basically took the game like it was an accordion and just squished it together a little bit. So like the best army and the worst army are not as far apart, unless you're Admech and Sisters. We're going to discount those. Every other army is now closer together in win rate, and I think that the next Meta Watch will hopefully reflect that a little bit. I would have liked more. I would have liked a few more elegant solutions, but let's be honest, some of the indexes just need to be rewritten, and they weren't going to do that. So, as far as I'm concerned, an S would have been they rewrote the problematic indexes for me. So, GW, I don't think you wanted to put the man hours into getting an S, in my opinion, but you get an A.
I will say they touched the indexes more than I thought they would. I was surprised with the changes they did make to the indexes they did touch.
All right, Charles, you're the tiebreaker, buddy.
For GW, I think this is probably an A. If this were anybody else, it'd probably be a B. But for GW, it's probably an A. The changes I would have made, not entirely, right? There's some misses there. It's not how I would address dev wounds, not how I would have addressed the free command point things, not how I would address Overwatch, right? But the fact that it did address the things that were problematic in a certain way is really, what we need, right? As long as everything problematic has been addressed in some way. So I give it an A. I think we just have to wait and see what the win rates do. And then do it again in 6 months.
What a Giga Chad take.
So overall, rating from podcast, A-. Not bad. I mean, I like I said at the beginning, I think that the average amount of fun in the game has
100%.
gone up. Which should be the intent of every data slate.
Okay, I want to address this very quickly. I'll get out. This is going to be the fastest soapbox taste of all time. This podcast is called Open Play, but we do a lot of match play here. A healthy, competitive match play meta makes open play so much more fun when you can just show up with whatever you got in your box and you can go against an opponent who is reasonably expected to have something that matches your army. It makes everything so much more fun when you can just play whatever you think is cool and is fun, and it makes everything so much more fun when you can just... I want to take 3 shock jump dragsters today because I think they're the coolest model on the planet. And you do. And it's fun. And your opponent has fun. So a healthy matched play meta makes for a healthy open play meta. And I've heard this complaint a couple times from some other folks, right? Like, the meta's changing too much. Every 6 months is too much for rules change. The game is evolving, and we as a community should look to evolve with it. And we should encourage Games Workshop to interact with us as players and as humans in a manner that makes sense to everyone. So, big shout-outs to GW for their changes, right? This is, from what I'm reading, I joined in 8th. This is the fastest they've ever reacted in an edition. Sometimes you could have editions that would go 3 years, and Eldar would just be unshootable for 3 years. So, suck it, losers. This makes me happy. The fact that they're reacting this fast, they're treating it like the internet exists. And I genuinely think how fast they're reacting and how fast they're balancing is good for literally everyone. I cannot think of an instance where the balancing is bad for anyone. So, all right, I'll pass it out to Mason to close the episode, or Michael. I don't know, one of y'all pick.
Well, the good news is that if you're wrong, everyone out there listening can tell you if they email us at openplaypodcast.gmail or at
Let me know
gmail.com.
how wrong I am, y'all. Like,
I would love to hear how wrong
Please.
Will is. I would also
Please.
really like just a flood of emails talking about how wrong Will is.
I want all the emails to say Will's stupid and he's an idiot and he has no idea what he's talking about.
If anybody emails, we will read them off next episode.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Openplaypodcast@gmail.com. Email us about how orcs are too thick and need to be slimmed down.
Great episode idea. We get a bunch of people to respond, and we just put Will on blast for like 2
Do
hours.
it. I will fight all of you in real. No, not in real life. I'm not that. I'm not that.
Don't
thick.
say it in real life. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm sorry this podcast was extraordinarily long. But hopefully that it was some good insight, or at least entertaining, about how we ranted about this data slate forever. But hopefully all your games are fun. Hopefully that the average amount of fun in your 40K experience goes up. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
See y'all.
See ya.